Hey, Borg, how's it going? Good to have you here. Okay, let's go make my posts where I need to make them. Hopefully you are doing okay. Looks like it's stream's looking good. I don't know if YouTube's currently working or not. It looks like it might. Maybe not. I don't know. We'll test it here in a minute. Okay. Okay, so that's all set up. Going fine. Spent all day solving the multiplayer difference between viewport mode and standalone mode. Ew. That doesn't sound like fun. Okay, cool. Well, hopefully you got that figured out. That's not fun to have to deal with, so understandable. Like for open 1270 to 0, you need a lot of additional settings in engine.ini. Really, to be able to test out your local host? That's kind of interesting. That's really interesting. I didn't have any of those problems when we were testing our multiplayer though. So I don't know. That's an interesting it's an interesting little tidbit. Damn. So are you using EOS or are you trying to use Steam? Okay. That's very interesting. Come on, paint. Why is it lagging? Guess I should have turned PCG off. PCG is normally not that laggy though. I can at least paint. Yeah, no, that's a good point. It crashed? What? Editor crash. Cool. What's the plugin for, if you don't mind me asking? Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's a good thing to have. Okay, that like killed the entire thing. That was laggy. Okay, let's open up Neo Rome. You're gonna post that on Fab? Okay, I guess I'm gonna turn off PCG. Because PCG was not having it with me. Escape. Hopefully it doesn't crash. It shouldn't crash. We'll see though. Tool strength should be high. It's the size that should be low. Yeah, there we go. Okay, no crash now. Yep. Then in widget setup, start session, find session, join session. That'd be cool. Yeah, we paid for Redpoint for hours, and I like it because it allows you to manage all the blueprint stuff, and so you know all that's kind of taken care of for you, so you don't really have to worry about it. But you know, I get what you're saying, and that would be nice to have something like that too, because Redpoint's expensive, man. But it's nice to have. Okay, I got rid of that, so we shouldn't have a tree that shows up there. See if there's any other little gotchas that I missed while going through. I was thinking about having like an auto bot that like travels through and then farmed. That would make sense, right? They're kind of future-y. Why wouldn't they have an auto bot that basically flies and like a Roomba gatherer? It comes out of the granary and then flies over here and starts harvesting. No, I agree with you. Redpoint wasn't bad, but I do agree with you. There are a bunch of plugins out there that are not worth it, and are definitely more of a headache than it is to, you know, just roll with it yourself. Mester is kind of similar. He doesn't like buying plugins, but the reason why he doesn't like buying plugins is because to him it takes away the challenge. My mic is a bit low. Interesting. Or maybe the volume of the stuff is too loud. Yeah, the media is really high. Does that change the volume? No. Yeah, the mic should be fine. I'm pushing the max for the mic. The problem is the media. When did I boost up the media? Okay. No, I should be, yeah, it should be better now. How is the sound now? I should have tested it before stream. I normally do, but I was already kind of late. Yeah, I'm pushing almost negative 25 dB, so it should be pretty loud. Now, the music probably was a little too loud. What about now? That's never good when the volume is a problem. Okay, so we're gonna finish up. Last night we did a long stream, and I actually finished up weighting the character. And oh crap. I gotta change the Z up. I need to make it a button. So last night we finished weighting the character and I got it fully kind of rigged out and looking the way that we want it to, which is good. So now everything weights really well and looks really well. Obviously, if I go too far, not so much, but I mean, that's almost all models and meshes. So that part is good. And the hand looks good. Shoulder bones, everything else is pretty good. So pretty happy about that. And the deformation for how it moves is pretty good. Especially for the underarm, it's very good and very smooth, so we get a nice kind of deformation control. And then the wrist is pretty good as well. Obviously, if you do some weird things that you shouldn't do with your arm, then maybe not so much. But overall, it's pretty well. And then oh man, all of it. I don't know how this keeps happening, where it like defaults to view out. It's very annoying. I think it happens because of the shift in the oh, that's your menu. Did you make that werewolf model and that cathedral, or are those assets? That's really nice. That's really nice. That's not top. Okay, that's front. Here we go. That's top. Nice. That's pretty good. And that's for your actual project. And then I worked on this. I think this bet leg is better. I haven't transposed the weights over yet, but there's a little deformations. But either way, I mean, you're gonna get some of that no matter what you do. I probably don't want as much of it as I see there, so I might change out the deformations a little bit, but overall I'm happy with it. Need to get a little bit of smoothing here in this zone right here. I think that's probably a little extreme, but overall very happy with how it kind of turned out. Yeah, that looks really cool. Yeah, see, I probably a little bit smoother there, maybe there. Yeah, no, I mean, I get it. Gray boxing is important though, you know? See, I can't do that because then it goes too far. I'll be honest, I'm pretty sure I think I should be hitting that up. Zero. Oh, that's an important one. Dang, dude. I didn't know that. I chose the wrong one. That's not good. No buenos. As you know, the art not my specialty. So learning how to make it okay level gameplay will be more important. Not, I mean, I think gameplay is always more important. So that's a good policy to have, and I think you're doing, you know, great things by taking care of that and thinking about that ahead of time. And it's a good choice, honestly. Okay, so we're good. I'm going to basically push this and pull this over, and then we're going to test out the control rig stuff. And if this works, then basically what we need to do is we need to take the frog model and put the frog model in here. It's more crazy skeleton to make wife busy with something while I'm doing other stuff. Yeah. Does your wife do animation blueprints? Yeah, I mean that's something that you probably put her on. It's cool that you work with your wife on it. That's a really cool thing to do, you know, to have that you know, as a partnership and part of the marriage whole process. That's really cool. You should be happy with it because it's a cool little thing. Not everybody gets to share that type of thing. A lot of wives wouldn't understand it, you know. So you understand how AI works in the editor, yeah? I might have to hit you up later and ask some questions because I need some AI. My AI isn't bad, but it definitely needs some work. Mester got Mester actually got the AI to update it today, which is really cool. And I understand AI a lot too, but there's certain things that, you know, I just don't necessarily fully grasp. So like for example, if I go here and then 4, right? I'm in the hey, I'm gonna forget you zone. Oh crap. I went too soon. I gotta get out of his zone. But basically, you know, I was in the zone where he's like, hey, I can see you, right? Let me turn it to daytime. So right here is his hearing zone, and I think the reason why he's not hearing me is because I haven't done anything that quote unquote he can hear. I know that we have to program that out for him to hear something, and I probably just don't have it set up. But his sight range, I can see all of that, right? And he can't see me because I'm behind him, but he can hear me. And then he comes in and you know, it's attacking and you're fighting, and so we got all this logic working, and it's pretty good. But there are certain things where I just don't understand, like where it pauses and how it pauses and why. And like, so for example, right now it's pausing to go heal itself, and then it's got like a delay on it, and then it goes and heals itself. I don't know, man. Like I say, there's some weird stuff with the AI that I don't necessarily always understand what's going on. So having another brain to pick would be nice. Yeah, I've done that before. I mean, I definitely have. It's like, I don't know. I have to play with it. Because basically in the behavior tree, I think that's a melee attack sword. And so we have a couple of different methods, right? So for example, when he needs to run and go and get his health, excuse me, he goes back up to a primary one. Where is it at? Enemy move to towards, no. Enemy attack, AI enemy. I think it's this one. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, it's this one. So basically, is an arena. That's a wholly different thing. I don't know why they're adding that in here, but deal with that. So wants to flee. So he basically chooses his location, sets the speed to running. We remove player focus. We set a move to, and that's the location that you need to flee. And then it's wait 2 to 3 seconds. Oh, that's why. Oh, that's why. So he gets to the location, waits before he does the consumable task. Well, there's a problem. So we don't want that's what's happening. Okay. Yeah, no, I gotcha. Yeah, it's like super horrible. Okay, so we want 1 second with a 0.5 duration in either side, and then recover from it. Okay, let's see how much better that is. See, right there, he should have been alerted to me already. I don't know what's going on there. Okay, so now he should flee. Now, and see how he decides to flee? He used that. Okay, so that's good. But this flee, this should be abort all others. Right? It should be override anything lower priority. He should abort. Like he should be like, yo, I'm gonna abort. What would be the decorator that I add? I just set it to be abort for anything else, right? So that way, anything lower priority, he automatically would abort for the flee. We'll make him low life. Okay, so now he flees. Okay, that's his priority, and then he's back here. Okay, that's more what I would expect. Yeah, there we go. Now we're getting some stuff. See, now he like looked away from me, but he can't like. We need to make a decorator for can flee because he shouldn't have tried to do whatever he just did. Like he I don't know. He broke down and was like, "Hey, I'm gonna flee," but then he couldn't flee. I don't know. Oh, he's missing me. That's what's the funny part about the tall ones is they miss you. Come on, man. Okay, so now he's gonna flee. Okay, does he try to flee again? Nope. Okay, that's good. Okay, that's good. Yeah, what's the problem? Damn it, dude. I gotta get that shield figured out too, because that shield is... Okay, so he flees, he heals, and then he comes back. Now we're going. Yeah, why did he turn away there? Yeah, I don't know. Okay. So anyways, there's some AI stuff. How you rotate to character is anime montage or BT with regular task. So rotate to character is I have no clue. I couldn't answer that one. So I know this. We do have a set focus, right? And so we set focus. Once I have my target, we set my focus. So this is Mester's logic. He is taking damage, has something been seen, has something been heard. If you want, you have in BT phase 2. No, I got that. So we have that's our targeting logic, right? And so we have that already, which is basically I set player focus or not, and if player is focused, then he will shift to his target. We do have turn ratio and turn everything else kind of set on. I think it's better to show that in Mester's level. You can kind of see it because Mester has an open world level, and then if I go to AI. Neutral, let's throw in some boars. Okay. I don't know. I think so. Okay, so should have them come over here. Wait, what? Leave me alone. Attack the boars. Oh man, looks like the AI got all jacked up. It worked last night. they're stuck looking up. That's funny. That's funny. They got stuck looking up. They're supposed to attack the boars. Oh wait, what? What? Why is the boar jacked up? One blackboard for all this BT. Well, no, so we have. Wait, I'm confused. We don't have one blackboard for all. Like, there's like different behaviors are different. Oh, I put in the Anim BP. That's why there weren't actual boars. I was wondering why they weren't moving, and then two, why they weren't being attacked by the skeletons. Okay, let me get out of the way. Okay, so you'll see that they have a nice rotate, turn to rotate for their location. So right now they have a rotation, so they pick it up. They should. I think they're hostile to the boars. Honestly, I don't know if skeletons are hostile to the boars. I think they are. If they're not, I need to get the goblins, because I know the goblins are. Okay, they're not hostile to the boars. Damn it. Okay, well you can see them. They turn nice and smooth and rotate to me properly. They don't glitch. They have a nice rotate to me. But it's based off of when we set the target. That's interesting. I need to switch. I want to see if the goblins work. I know he set the goblins up. BP character, simple spawner. What is he spawning? Oh, NPC character. Let's try goblin. See what that does. Okay, let me get out of the way. Okay, there we go. Come on, goblins. Go hunting. Now they're hunting. And then he runs. Now they're hunting. He lost sight of him, so he didn't care anymore, so he left. That's funny. So they are kind of working, except for the fact that he's trying to kill this boar, and his BT is jacked up because of the way I set it up. Anyways, yeah, we can talk on the side. There's some stuff. I definitely have to spend some time with the AI and get it fixed up. But basically the way I have it is we have anything that is considered an enemy, right? Is they have the option to flee, which we did fix. That's good. Should charge forward, and basically this is Mester's way of forcing it to charge forward. I don't know if this should be here. Deal with that later. And then there is a some target, and then he's using selection, and then he runs a behavior for the different things based off of he took damage, or if he seen something, or he whatever. He basically runs a behavior, and that says run EQS, send the task, which is his walk speed, and then setting the move to the location. So this is a separate little kind of like tree that's been set up. This is new. He actually just added this. And then if there's no target, he basically the lowest priority on the process is if there's no target, we say, hey, don't focus the player, find a random set your movement speed to walking, find a random location that's around, move to that, wait 5 to 10 seconds at that location, or 5 to 8 seconds. Maybe I should reduce that. 3 and 3, so that's 3 to 6 seconds, wait at that location, find another one, and move around, right? I'm aware that it's laggy, But that's kind of, we're kind of pushing the bounds on that a little bit. Just a little bit. Maybe more so than we should. I don't know. We like to push the bounds. But yeah, maybe. What I need to figure out is, so in the actual attack query system, right? We have attack was parried, and so if my attack was parried, I set my is interruptible. This is so that way I don't have a root motion knocking him back anywhere else, right? And then we do a shield block, set that to false. We set that way it drops whatever shield they might have had. We set the player's focus to false. We wait 4 seconds, so that's how long you've been parried. And then we show is parried, which causes them to do the and then after that's done, we set the player focus back to being true to whatever its focus was, so it refocuses its target, and then it'll go down. If it wasn't parried, which is, you know, the primary thing, we move over to the basically the running at the player. And so I say, hey, if it's between 1,000, why is it pausing? This is very interesting. Hey, it's like pausing itself. I thought every time I was saying, okay, hey, it was pausing itself. Very weird. I'm going to watch it. I'm watching it now. I'm watching you now. Let's see what happens. I don't know why it was pausing itself. Oh, you know what? I forgot. I am controlling it from the phone. It might be, it might be the phone. Yeah, that's what it was. Okay. Anyways, so back to where we were. Basically, what this will do is, this says anything that's between 1,000 and 10,000. We want to set the interrupt rule to true. We say focus the player. We set the player's speed to run. I drop the shield if they're holding the shield, and then I move the target and then wait 0.5 seconds so that way it has enough time to query out and not get stuck in there. Come back over here. If we get into the range of 300 to 1,000, basically I have him set their task to be interruptible. I set player focus to true. We set the movement speed to be agitated, because in this range they're kind of agitated, so it's a little bit faster, but it's not a full-out sprint. We drop the shield and we set move to target, and then I have a selector, which is basically right now it's a random chance for a 3-sword attack. And we basically say, okay, did this succeed? If this succeeded, cool. If it didn't succeed, move on. We had some chances here with some decorators. I think I moved that off just for testing purposes. So right now it'll try all 3 swings. Before I wanted it to have some randomness. That's kind of what these are. Is basically it does 1 sword attack, and there's a 70% chance, and then there's a 50% chance he'll try to do 2 sword attacks, and then I had it set to this was one, like all 3 sword attacks, and this was a lower percentage chance. And then if no matter what happened, if all of these chances failed, I had a fail safe where he would always do, no matter what, just 1 sword attack. So I guess I could have gotten rid of this. I don't need this, right? Other than the randomness. Correct. Well, not here, right? Because here it's always going to get through this whole chain, and it might fail from here, but I don't know how it would fail from here, because how would it fail? Like, there's nothing here allows a failure, so it should always attack. Where would the sometimes failure be in your assessment? I mean, in theory, sure, any task could fail, but none of these really are going to fail. And the one that might, which was my selector, I set to a forced success. and I set everything else to a forced success, so even if it does fail, it moves through the chain. So that way, no matter what, I will always release my token, and no matter what, it should, like, even if this fails, it should come to my next selector, which is my attack. So it should always attack, like, once. Worst case scenario. And then I have more logic for when it's too close. So we do change that logic up a little bit. Basically, we have a sequence where he will do an attack, and then after his attack, he will go to the evade, which is basically where it will set itself to be interruptible. It'll set its movement speed to normal. It'll get a new location, which is around the player. It will do a simple parallel, which is the move to, and while it's moving to that location, it will bring up the shield and block. And then after 2 to 3 seconds of that move to and moving to the location and blocking, it should succeed out through here and succeed the simple parallel, giving a wait, bringing it back out here, and then it should come back to doing the selector on what it wants to attack. In the selector, if it is forced to succeed, hey Daniel, in selector, if it is forced to succeed, does it mean it will play only the first leaf? No, forced success means it'll go to the next portion. So for some reason, let's say this sword attack fails. If this sword attack failed, the normal logic for the blend tree is to go back up and out, right? Instead, if this fails for whatever reason, it will continue moving forward with a forced success. So that way, I don't break out this tree because this was blocked or something. So for example, if I block the sword attack, which then creates a failed state, then this would all go back out and I would have to recalculate again. Whereas in this case, oh, you're talking about a selector. Okay, so up here, you're saying in selector, if it is forced to succeed, does it mean it will play only the first leaf? Yeah, correct. That's correct. So if I had multiple, right now I only have one of these two selectors. So in essence, it should always select this and never select this, because this is set to force success, like basically all the way through. I guess the only way it couldn't succeed is release token, I guess. But then it's basically going to move on to the next thing. I don't know. That's an interesting question. That's true. This should never happen, but I put it there as a failsafe. That's why it's labeled failsafe. Because I don't know, man. AI logic does some weird stuff sometimes. But you're not wrong. It shouldn't. I didn't know we were going to be doing AI this stream. That's interesting. I like AI. AI is a lot of fun. Especially once I grasp how it works. There's still little weird nuances that happen that you're like, wait a minute, what? And so that part is a little interesting and annoying to deal with. But I think I'm gonna have to, at some point I need to polish this up when I get more attacks. Right now we just have the sword attacks. I want lunges and things like that. Yeah, it is. I like it. It's fun. It took me some time to grasp the whole process behind it, but once I grasped everything that was required of it, I really do like it. What I don't like and what I want to kind of figure out how to do is, so for example, I have this right here, and this is my, hey, at this 1000 range, I want him to do this, right? Right now, the way I have it is basically this basically destroys all lower priorities. So, for example, if he's in the middle of an attack and I run out of his range for whatever reason, he will then stop the attack and then start chasing me instead of finishing off the attack, right? And that does create some problems, not for these mobs right here, but for the boss. And so I'm trying to figure out a way that I can say, okay, I want you to switch over to this, but only after it's completed whatever it's currently doing. I don't want this to be like destroyed in the process, you know, of moving from point A to point B. I need to, that's the kind of logic I got to figure out, because the boss logic, I'll give you an example. Where's my boss at? Okay, so the AI for the first dungeon boss, right? Attacking, okay. Yeah, I mean that's a good point. I might have to do some of that, because I do agree that it's I don't know, man. So for example, right here, I basically have this aborts all lower priorities. So if the player runs between 1,200 and 10,000, the boss basically starts moving to them in a slow speed, and then it basically sets a move to target, and then I want them to summon a are you using services and decorator? Yeah. So like that's a float. This is my service, right? And there's my decorators, but I have a couple of them depending on what they are. But yes, we are using them. I don't have a lot on these specifically, like, but should recover is a primary example of it, right? We actually removed this out of the logic because I think we actually handle recover in the actual event now instead. But what I was trying to say is in this event, right, the boss is doing his spin attack. He's swirling over here, like he's doing his swirl attack. And what happens is if I run out of his range for his swirl attack, he will end his swirl attack early, because this is set to you know, destroy lower priorities, and then he'll summon the thingy and do this, and I don't want that. So maybe I could add a check in here. That's a really good point. I could add a check in here saying, is he in swirl attack? And if true, then, you know, don't move forward, but if false, then I can go through this process. Yeah, that's an important one. Yeah, that's an important thought process. I just now thought about that. What? C should work. What the? Why isn't C working? What? Okay, I guess I have to have something selected for it to work. That's weird. Add a condition for if in swirl. This is for me for later. That's a good thought process. Okay. Because then he does this, which is good, and this doesn't abort any lower priorities. This is basically making him move to the player. This is his medium range, which is the sword attacks. This is his side stuff. He'll do the sequence, which is basically he'll do a swirl. If this fails, we want to force succeed because the cooldown is active, right? So we force succeed and move to the swirl attack or the sword attack. Yeah, I like it. Okay. And this is a sequence too, so I don't know why I couldn't put this off of this. Because it's all essentially the same. Yeah, okay. I would have to create a custom decorator, right? And then that means here I would have to, for me, this looks different. Like run different BT for different actions is a bit weird because I have one BT for any type of enemy. Yeah, so the reason why that is because we want to segment out the logic. And so different enemies can pull in different logic. So for example, sword is different for, you know, maybe like a jumpy sword or a normal sword. And so with this methodology, we can basically, in the primary brain of the creature, we can say, hey, grab this behavior from this tree in this scenario. So it allows us to have multiple kind of choices rather than being kind of pigeonholed into one per. I'm not saying any method is different. I think they're both kind of the same. The logic is there for you to pull from other trees. The important factor is just making sure that you stay inside of your tree. Because if you get out of this tree, then this logic is all jacked up, and that's very true. Does boss test work? I don't know if this works or not. Looks like it does. So the boss is there. Why does it not turn on? He did make a what? Oh, that's cool. Do I have to walk through here? Oh, that's true. Am I Alive is a good one. Why is the boss not working, man? Damn, son. It's ready. No. Okay, I'm gonna force him into stage 2 real quick. Maybe. I don't know. He's sitting down, so his tree won't work. Yep. I'm not gonna force him into the next phase. Never mind. That's dumb. It should have triggered here. Guess I have to open Neo Rome. I need to edit the ability. Maybe that's what I'll do. It shouldn't be super hard. We'll do some scripting today. I could do an hour of scripting. I mean, we've already kind of got sidetracked anyways, and I'm okay with it. It's good to switch up what you're doing. Let's hit play real quick. Okay, both doors are unlocked, which is great. That means I can just go fight him. So you like suggestions about add skeleton as playable? Yeah, it was good. It was a good suggestion. I mean, I'm not gonna say that right now I can't fully 100%. I've kind of cheated it. I haven't fully done it yet, but yeah, I do like it. Okay, so now that was his ability, right? So he's in phase 1, and now he's set to walk to me. He's gonna do his stuffies. And then he's gonna do that, and then he should start his wind-up ability. Yep. And see how I got too far? So because I got too far, it canceled it out, and then it does that. So I definitely need to add that logic for that, because that's gonna change everything. Man, there's so many spawns. I need to change that out. I can't handle it. Okay, almost died. There we go. Because that's what you're supposed. The reason why it matters is because that's how you're supposed to get your hits in, is by you avoiding all of his stuff and basically staying in the mid-range of him. If you get too far, I want him to spawn more skeletons and do the crazy stuff. But you need to stay away from that skill, just so you can get enough to do this right there. And then now he goes there. That activates all the traps. I need to get out of the way. Ugh. Okay, bye. They did. This part needs a little bit of work. This is phase 2 technically. This needs work. And then once he's healed, he goes into phase 3.
Let the aether flame engulf your sins
and then phase 3 is just him. I said also you can add anyway stun after ability no matter it's canceled. Wait, hold on. I'll read that in 2 seconds. I'm gonna try to see if I can beat him. I have not beaten him on stream yet. I haven't beat him off stream either. Oh my god, because of that right there. I get cocky and then I do that. Oh no, I'm dead. I'm dead. I'm dead. Oh, I made it. I made it. I don't know how. Okay, start doing your spin. There you go, buddy. Oh, he caught me on the edge. Okay, what did you say? You said... Also, you can add... Anyway, do stun after ability, no matter it is canceled. What? I don't know what's that in reference to? Also, you can add... Oh, yeah. I see what you're saying. Well, so I need to, that's probably some code logic that I don't necessarily know how to do, because I don't know how to add in, like, decorators. I don't know how to add them in, to be honest. Like, I wouldn't even know. Blueprint AI, I don't know. Like, right here is a decorator that Mestre made for random chance, right? So perform condition AI check, and it has a return node and random float, blah, 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 blah. So if I was to create a decorator, let's say I duplicate. Yeah, but I need to create one. I have to make one first. That's how you add it. I need to make one first. So I'd have to go into my decorators, right? And then do... Oh my lord, what's up, Adis? How's the game coming along? Good. It's a totally different game than what you've probably seen. I don't know if you... Have you seen the Gladiator game stuff or no? Good to have you here, by the way. Welcome. Let's switch up the music real quick. Because we've now heard this song like 4 times now. Let's try Groovy. I liked Groovy last night. Okay, cool. Well, I'll give you the short tour. Super short tour. So, in last year, during this same time, there was a Mega Jam, and we had to make a game, and we made a game in 7 days, and that game was a Gladiator fighting game. That has spawned into me trying to make a game about the Gladiator fighting game that we made. And this is what we've come up with. So, in this game, you basically have 2 modes. You have campaign mode, and you have Gladiator mode, Infinite Arena. In campaign mode, you basically create your character. We have character customization, which you can randomize and have all the different stuff, make things look different. Customize, so we have all the different like eyes that you could have. You can make them emissive, so that way if you want a godly character or whatever else, you can have that, doesn't matter. And then we have hair. These are all placeholders right now, but again, it's just, it's there. Hair will have primary, secondary, and tertiary colors, so that way you can basically have like, streaks of hair or 2 different colors or whatever else. You can choose different facial hairs, and different facial hairs will also have primary, tertiary, secondary colors. And then just like in our old game, that you saw before, we have the ability to choose out your primary, secondary, and tertiary colors with an emissives if your armor has that. And then this will auto color your armor. It'll auto color your facilities. It'll auto color everything. And then obviously skin color. You can choose whatever skin color you want. We got albinos if you want to be an albino, or a necro. We got that too. Maybe that's maybe you're into the super pale necro skin. Either way, you make your character. Once you're done with the character, you spawn into the realm. We have a small little tutorial. You can't obviously see my character properly because I've cheated it to where I can be a skeleton right now. But you'll spawn in the world, and you're given your first quest, which is to basically get out of this arena.
Hail Trio. Welcome to Ludus Initium. Blocking can be performed with a weapon or shield, and, in rare cases, with your hands. However, I strongly advise against the latter. Blocking effectively requires stamina. If you attempt to block without sufficient stamina, you'll end up on the ground, staring up at your opponent in bewilderment.
It's a North type of skin. I have it. Yeah, nice. Yeah. Okay, so you talk to him. He basically tells you all the starter hints that you might have. Once you're done talking to him and you've picked up your weapons, you come to the training guy. and basically you get a training event. This training event is kind of how you learn. Combat is very much like a Souls-like. So basically, you have the ability to do perfect parries, you have blocking, you have dodging. Dodging costs stamina, perfect parries cost stamina, everything costs stamina. But we're very nice with how we do stamina. Perfect parries give you the ability for you to get a lot of damage on the opponent. And that's how you do your stuff. And so once you finish the main part of the quest, backstab is a thing, yes. We do have critical hits based off of bones and locations. So once you finish this and you've got that, basically the door opens up for you to come out into the world. You'll save. We teach you the first thing to do is to come save real quick, and then you'll actually come out into the open world, and that's how you kind of start your journey. Now right now, because of creating things, I made the world not have any trees. This is a very lush environment with lots and lots of trees. There's a lot of things to kind of explore and go do. We have a lot of depth to the environment. There's water. You're going to swim right now. I can't swim because I don't have the animations for it. We'll have floaty boaties that you can kind of tour around in, and there are sharks in the water, so you have to be careful, otherwise sharkies will kill you. Our shark is currently a little handy. He needs a lot of help because he's not very good and he likes to stick his face in the ground. But he is a shark and he is there. And eventually, whenever we have floating and swimming, our sharky will also swim. And so that's kind of the breadth of that. Now, in the demo, your whole purpose is to go and fight the boss, which is kind of what I was showing maybe when you first popped in, maybe not. But either way, you'll traverse, you'll run, you'll get over here to this location, and you'll get to the dungeon. And this is kind of the second thing. Yeah, he's a sea star. Yeah, exactly, right? So you'll basically have to do the Zelda part of the game. So in the Zelda part of the game, our job is to learn how to unlock the different levels of the dungeon. And so basically the boss fight is here, but you can't get to the boss fight because it's locked out. And it's locked out because you haven't unlocked those two things. So you have to figure out how to go through the dungeon and get through things. And part of that is basically, you know, traversing and going around and completing the puzzles. So this is the Zelda part of the game. We want a Dark Souls Zelda mix. That's basically is what I'm looking for. Zelda is the lightheartedness. Dark Souls is the way the bosses work and the fighting works.
And Diablo's the pot smashing.
Right, exactly. Hey Stormy, how's it going?
Not bad, mate.
And so, if you're hearing voices, it's not me. I promise. It's Stormy. He's real. He's not my imagination. Nor is he a bot that I added to this. By completing that, I basically unlock this part of the dungeon, so then I can come in here, and then the entire part of the dungeon is basically doing these things, figuring out how these things work. And what we're doing is we're teaching the player how to actually fight the boss, because these things are going to be different, like, skill sets you'll need to fight the boss. Do you actually hear it, or are you saying that just to say it?
I have no idea. Let me put on stream and I'll see if I hear myself.
Well, I can tell here. Hold on. Say something real quick.
Nah, I'm coming through.
Yeah, you're coming through. I saw it. I just saw it. Yeah. You're coming through. Knight's like, there's no voices. Yeah, there is. I just saw it. Don't try to confuse me, Mr. Borg. So you'll come through, they'll do the dungeon. There's different things. I'm speed running this right now, so that way you can kind of get an idea. It's in your imagination. Yeah, probably. I'm speed running this, but the point is you'll come through, you'll do all the different parts of the dungeon. Oh no, I pulled a Stormy. And then as you finish the different parts of the dungeon, then that will basically teach you all the skills. Like, so those are flames that lit up those flames, which spawn those cryo chambers. The cryo chambers will drop, and then you have to kill them to be able to unlock the door. They're my brothers? No, my brothers.
It's important to remember that even skeletons have facial hair.
In our game, yes, they do. It is a sexy voice. That is what Stormy has. Okay, so after you've killed all those and it tracks them as being dead, then the door opens. You can unlock the next part of the dungeon, and that sends you on your way. And basically, you'll traverse through the dungeon trying to find things. There'll be like little lore drops that we have in the dungeon with different information and different intel. But the next parts are basically, you know, kind of just showing off all of the different things that can happen. So you'll have traps on the ground that'll spawn as you run through. So you're, you know, if you stop, then you'll die. And so the goal of this is to kind of figure out how to get through all of this. I don't know why those don't work. I need to fix that. I keep forgetting that I need to fix that.
Making it right now.
Now, then I have to cancel what I'm doing, and then that's not, no buenos.
This is why you have a notepad and a pen by your desk, so you can actually just go, oh yeah, this.
I do actually have a notepad and a pen by my desk. Interestingly
So
enough.
why haven't you written it in?
Because those are for work things. So this is our dodge. You dodge here, and then you got to try to see if you can time it to get through the next part. Oh, I always suck on that one. That's okay.
Hey, I got
Save.
through it on my 19th try.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. Fix on release. Correct. And so you'll go through, you'll finish up this part of the dungeon, which unlocks this over here. This part's pretty easy. It's all just sprinting. This is a timing game. But again, it's supposed to teach you what you have to do during the boss. So, oh, I went too fast. And I almost died. Damn. Okay, so now I basically have unlocked both sides of the dungeon. And I'm okay. I don't have a lot of gear. That's what you're supposed to get is gear. I haven't placed the monsters in this part that have the gear. So I need to do that. Because right now I don't have a lot of gear. And basically
Plus, the opportunities outside to get gear.
Correct. Yeah, correct. So now I would fight the boss. This is the Dark Souls part of the game where I'm in the boss arena and there's bossy things that I have to do. This boss is pretty simple, but also complex, and he's complex because he's OP right now. He's not supposed to be as strong as he is. This first phase is where you basically just are killing his minions who he's summoned, which is the cryo chamber stuff, while he sits there and he watches you. And then after you've killed, I think it's 8 of them, because you kill 4, and then you have 4 big ones that are here. These guys they're basically easy. They're meant to be easy. They're kind of there to just kind of take a couple of points off of you and make you spend 1 or 2 pots. Then he'll basically get up, he'll spawn one on you, and then he'll do his first attack that you kind of have to dodge. And then you're in phase basically 2, but it's really phase 1 of the boss, however you want to look at it. And in this phase, the whole point is to dodge his abilities. That was it. See, that's that skill that I was talking about that auto cancels. And then once you defeat the boss, let's say you defeat the boss, which I'm not going to, but if I did, then you can leave here and start the next part of the demo, which is going and taking care of the arenas.
Which reminds me, before you actually nerf the boss, remember the settings so that you can actually put lethal mode as in another hard difficulty.
Well, I mean, so the nerf is going to be basically, I'm just going to make the skill balanced. Right now, the skill is not balanced. It is OP. Okay, so that kills all them. You're supposed to run around the arena to avoid all this damage. Again, I haven't fixed this to where you can actually, like, it hits all the different areas of the arena. So right now I can just sit here and let him heal. This is phase 3 technically, I guess. Phase 4 is the final phase for him. You can't really do anything in this phase. So the last phase is me versus him, basically. as long as I use the skeletons against him. And the only thing that really is damaging here is his the suck-in ability that he does right here. This is the one that
Let
kills
the
you.
aether flame engulf your sins and wash clean your
This is kind of damaging too if you miss it, but that's basically the only thing you really have to worry about. Everything else is pretty easy. You just avoid his attacks. Don't get stunned. And then prepare to run when he does that attack. Yep. And you have to. Oh. Yep. And that's how I get, because you get cocky and then you go into a zone. If you go too close into the zone, you're done. Like you can't. There's nothing you can do about it. Anyways, you finish that. Let's say you killed the boss. I'm gonna pretend that I killed the boss. You will then get some nice gear from him that'll help you out, and then you can take that gear. You can head to the arena, and you can try to beat the champion, because that's actually the real goal. Thanks, man. The real goal is to.
Don't forget the lore dump.
Well, there's lots of lore, but yeah. The goal here is to actually beat the champion and gain ownership of the Ludus. And when you gain ownership of the Ludus, you can do things. So like I can gain benefits from the cooking. I don't have to cook. I have people that do that for me. They're my friends. You can sleep in the bed, change the time of day. You know, so let's say you wanted to do things at nighttime, or you can only do things at nighttime. Certain things will require it to be night. You can do that by going to the Ludus and then actually doing that. Maybe you have to go and do some questing at the church or whatever else, and so you have to, come there at nighttime when the church is closed. So that way you can have communion with, God or whoever else it might be that you're trying to talk to. There might be other factors and elements about the stuff. It is currently single player. There was talks about co-op, but again, we wanted to make this as fast as possible. And to make it fast as possible, we didn't want to have to deal with netcode. That being said, if the interest in the project does well, an early access or a Kickstarter or whatever we do for the early funding portions of this do well, then that might be something that we look at doing. However, what I will say is adding in multiplayer will exponentially increase the time delay for completion. So I don't know. Right now it is kind of 100% planned for a single player. The multiplayer aspect will probably come in for the arena mode, to where you can fight in the arena and randomly your homeboy will show up.
I think the discussion we had was basically single player for this, arena to have a multiplayer for the matchups, and depending on the reception, how people went, second island expansion would then become multiplayer, and that's where it get incorporated.
Yeah, and I think that's a good aspect too. Is say, hey, the island expansions, the next island that is available will be, that's something that you can 100% expect. Is, hey, this is a multiplayer realm. So I think that's a good thing.
And effectively, your first island could become your actual home base / mini territory to operate from.
Yeah. But we do have, like I said, different weapons have different animations. They do work differently. You have different armor pieces. You can put on all the armor. We have a super cool quick system to determine what armor is better or worse than what you're wearing. Oh, damn, I lost that it despawned as I was moving. That sucks. But, and what is also nice about our game is whatever armor the creature is wearing, that is what they drop. So, if you really like the armor that somebody's wearing, all you gotta do is kill them, and then you can wear their armor.
You mean it's not like WoW, where we can kill a plate wearer and get a wizard hat?
Right. Yep. If they're wearing it, they drop it.
But what about all those girly bikini chainmails?
Well, we have to have girls first. Which we don't have. At least not yet.
You can't assume gender in this.
Well, I mean, I can.
They could all be girls.
When that is true, there's no RNG in the aspect that you don't have to worry about random things from what they have, but there is RNG in the sense that they spawn with random armor and gear. So it is RNG in that element. I don't want to falsely kind of advertise that. And then we'll have weather. We'll have weather effects will be an effective thing that basically sets up a lot of this stuff. You can have dynamic rain. This is from UDS, which is what I love.
And a lunar cycle.
Say that again.
A lunar cycle.
Yeah, it does have lunar cycles and everything else, which is really cool.
I was going to say with the spawns, with the RNG, players who actually get familiar with the game will recognize what mobs to attack for a faster upgrade, recognizing the gear on them versus other mobs that may have downgrades.
Yeah. So we put in a lot of time. I said short. I think that was short. That was 16 minutes. No, 15 minutes. That's kind of short, I guess. Ish. Not too bad.
But demo doesn't need to be more than half an hour to an hour.
Well, that's true. The demo will definitely, even if you rushed through it, I think the demo is probably about 30 minutes of gameplay, if not more. Thanks, buddy. How you been? Okay, so that's there. Let's go to Neo Rome. And how are you, Stormy? You good tonight?
Afternoon. Just finished work, so that's good.
Nice.
Just waiting for my ramen to be ready.
Yeah, I had steak earlier.
Is that the steak you mentioned in Discord?
Maybe? I don't know. I don't know if I did
You
or
just done the steak thing.
I can't remember. I'll be honest. I went to bed. I got into the house automation programming a couple years ago back. Nice. That is cool. This is what the forest is supposed to look like, by the way. This is how it's supposed to be treed out.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that because you defoliaged.
Yeah, I normally defoliage whenever I'm doing landscape stuff because if not, then PCG trips out and is like, and then we don't want that. So I defoliage while doing landscaping stuff, so that way I can, properly do it without the stuff erroring out or crashing, because it did crash earlier in the stream too.
So what you're saying is if you change the landscape and then you put the foliage back and suddenly we've got floating trees?
No. If I change the landscape real time, I get problems with PCG. And so by changing it non-real time, like what I'm doing right now, then I do my enable PCG tool that I created, and then that works. That's really cool. Yeah, I think that's really cool, man. It's really cool that you get to work with people like that and then kind of experience what that's like. That's not always easy, especially for people to enjoy that which they're doing. So it's super cool that you get to do that. I'm happy for you, bro.
That's where part of me sitting back from the entrepreneurial side and saying you should do a cut down version for the customer to buy off Amazon.
Yeah. And I definitely can see reasoning behind hiring clients, that's for sure. That's cool. So PCG is weird. Sometimes it surface samples and sometimes it doesn't. I don't understand it. Like when it comes to these, I'm just painting it here now so I don't have to deal with it. But it does do that very weirdly. Like how it decides and when it decides, it's like, oh yeah, you should put a tree here. Well, no, I can't put a tree here because it's blocked. Well, what made you decide that now, PCE of the G? Okay, so that works. probably get rid of all this over here.
I think
When
it's
I did
fairly
the
common amongst most landscape programs, though, because
Yeah.
when you're building something on top, you'll always see leaves coming out from underneath. It's just a quirk.
Well, yeah, especially with an auto material, it's normal. I'm not tripping on it. Like I said, I have an auto material, so it doesn't make a sense. With no auto material, it might be different, but with an auto material, yeah, I definitely 100% expect.
Unless it lets you dedicate a certain part of the land and just say it will not be at all.
You can do that with PCG. I don't have that in place right now. Like I said, I'm using an auto material for it, so that's kind of what I spent over the weekend and that last stream last week. That's what I spent doing. Thanks. I remember back in the day when we did the meetup, I was just a mechanic and wasn't using my skills the fullest. Now I'm well versed in my field and enjoy it a lot. Well, and I think that's it. You know, that's a really good point. That we go through life kind of, you know, thinking one thing and doing one thing, and then when we finally get to what it is that we're supposed to be doing, we get to enjoy that, you know. That's cool that you found it, and it's cool that you have the ability to do that which you enjoy. Super happy for you.
And sometimes you never find that shit and you just wander through life going, what was my purpose?
Yeah, well, luckily I don't know that problem. I know what my purpose is. It's to make video games. Well,
Your purpose is to make that mine over there somewhat accessible.
yeah, right.
Be right back. I got the ramen to be ready.
Yep. Yeah, it's good to be doing game dev. You know, I retire. I'll be retired here in November, so I'll be officially out of the military, and I still have a normal day, you know, 9 to 5 job, but at the same time, I'm gonna try to make sure to make every effort after my 9 to 5 job to, you know, come in here and stream. Because my ultimate goal is to release this game, or a game, but this game is our most likely version of that. So this game, that's what we're releasing. I'm building a team. We have Kindred. Kindred is part of our team. We've got Mester, you know, same person who was here last time with us. Stormy's still here, as you can hear. And then, you know, we're also working on getting some other people involved. I have a new level design guy who I just added. And we have Rock Kicker. He's kind of new. Probably don't know him. And then yeah, so we're working on getting it to where it's nice and good. Have multiple people on the team working together to make things happen. Yeah, that's the mine entrance. Stormy is the OG. He's been here probably, I wouldn't say more than anybody. There was a couple people before Stormy, but he's been here for the long haul. That's for dang sure.
Nah, if you think about it, you and I were on game dev. So technically, it has been as long as you've been on game dev.
Yeah, but I was with Telenor before that. And Jaden, I think I knew before you. I think. I can't remember.
Well, you knew Mester before me.
Well, yeah, but I mean, Mester is a kind of a given. Like, I've known that man. That's the first one I met.
So, like, I'm 88th in the line.
Yeah. He is tried and true. He has, Stormy has been through the storm. That is correct. He's my boy, Blue. He's my boy.
At least I never went out on a boat every couple of years for a couple of years.
Hey, that's not my fault, man. That was just my career choice. Yeah, the Stormy is the storm. Yeah. So we got a couple of things. I need to finish up. What we were going to do is we were going to work on the temple. So I think I need to spend some time with that. We got some time left. I've got another hour and a half, maybe 2 hours of streaming. So let's work on the temple. That way we can get this kind of bricked out and finalized and put to bed, so that way I don't have to deal with it again. I will have to deal with set dressing because obviously I'm not going to use the Senti assets for set dressing. But I do want the structure of the temple in place so that way it's easy to kind of come in here and see it and look at it and see, kind of have a good idea.
Oh, I meant to ask, are you making a multi-purpose temple or are you a dedicated temple to one god?
I think this is that's a good question. I don't know. I don't think I'm trying to think about lore wise, right? So we have a church. Oh, we have a church over here, and so in this sense, it's a little tiny church, and it's a little tiny kind of area. We're gonna have a bigger temple over here. We talked about this, I think, before.
Yeah, the church is the lion food section, and the temple is the.
Yeah, I gotta figure out how I want that to work structure wise, but ideally, yes. The answer to that is ideally yes. I need to paint this real quick. I got ADHD right now, but that's okay. Tool strength. Let me go here. I'm seeing things that are wrong that I need to fix after I janked up my auto material. This was all dirt, and now it's not dirt because, again, I messed up my material. Well, I didn't mess it up. I actually intentionally set it up this way. So I wouldn't really call it messed up. It's funny because it looks like a ruin when I spawn in PCG because like the trees and everything is overgrown on it, and you're like, wait, what?
With the temple,
Yeah.
You can view it as a subset of the pantheon, because the pantheon is a temple that's devoted to all gods of the Romans. So if you do it that way, then it can be multi-use in terms of offerings. So you could actually potentially select different types of bonuses depending on the offerings you make.
Yeah, I don't think I want to go that route. Remember, I think what I would want to do is
But
I
also,
want that to be
It covers
ruined.
it from a lore aspect if you're talking to the Fades.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think I want that to be more of a ruins type thing. Like, I don't want it to be actively used. Maybe people who believe in the old gods, that's where they go. I'm okay with that kind of thought process. I think that's a fine thing to have because we're always going to have multiple religions throughout the world, no matter what. So I think that's a important kind of distinction to say, hey, this is where the old gods are worshipped and that kind of thing. It's not really taken care of. It's not a normal thing, but it is where the old gods were worshipped, and that's where you could go to do that. I think that's kind of how I'm going to approach it lore-wise. I think that makes the most sense.
Well, if you do decide to go to ruins, keep a finished copy of it as well, because if we use it for vision aspect, there's no reason we can't actually recreate the complete version.
Well, that's correct. I agree. I'm not gonna make it all torn out, and I do like that because, again, with one of the nice parts about using Unreal Engine is you have the ability to have data layers. So I can put the good temple in a data layer, I can put the ruined temple in a data layer, and based off of, let's say you're on quest A or quest B or whatever you're on, I can change and load up different data layers dynamically in runtime. So I can have it be ruined or I can have it not be ruined, and there's a lot of cool things that we can do with that.
We can go to all the various devs, put their graffiti marks on the temple.
Yeah. I think that's some stuff I'm gonna have to start doing once we get this fleshed out a little bit more. I think, you know, world building in the sense of creating the nuance and how things work. And, you know, I was talking about this earlier. I think having a farm bot would be a cool thing because that would make sense. You know, they still would have people who do farming, but, you know, if it's 2070, they probably advanced technology as well to where they could have, you know, automated farms and farm bots. So I like that idea of having some mechanics that are, you know, dealing with that.
That's a tricky one, because if we're still dealing with the slave system, the reality is that certain levels of technology would not necessarily be implemented because you still want to keep the slaves working.
True, but like there's different areas and avenues for that, right? So our slaves could be in the sense that they are providers for, you know, the people, but they're not necessarily the ones that are used for the manual labor, because slaves tire, right? That's the same reason why a lot of people are going to AI right now, is because not just because, you know, it's cheaper, but also because, especially in the automotive industry, you know, I can just put a robot on to work for, you know, 100 billion hours, as long as I have the parts to replace it, and maintenance wise it's cheaper than a human. Then, you know, that's kind of what we're looking for. So I think that would be an interesting thing to look at concept wise and find out what that, maybe speak about that. And that's, you know, a moral stance of the game is, hey, you know, AI taking over jobs, and what that looks like versus, you know, humanity, and which one's worse. Is it worse to have humans who are doing the work, or is it, you know, worse to have the robots who are taking all the work for the humans that might enjoy that, or something, whatever. I don't know. It might be an interesting concept to look at. We have to look at it.
I'd probably look at the arena for that if you're talking with other Gladiator NPCs and you find out that some of the slaves have been sent over there to the Gladiators because their jobs have been replaced by AI and automation.
Yeah,
So
that might be true. They don't want to have to pay for their food anymore, so they're like, hey, go die. Or that maybe that's the primary use of the slaves, is for entertainment only, you know?
In which case you're heading more towards a criminal aspect rather than conquered nations.
Well, I mean, it could be both. That could be where you punish criminals, and also where you know, conquer nations and send those conquered nations people.
With the ability to gain their own version of citizenship within Rome.
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah, we can just call it the fast track for citizenship.
the fast track. You either are or aren't a citizen. Welcome to death.
Oh no, if you die in there, you can get automatic citizenship.
Oh yeah?
I think that, well, you're dead, so it's not like they're actually costing anything. You say you're a citizen of Rome.
Yeah, I mean, what benefit does that give you, though?
No, that's just what governments are like, so why not incorporate a dick move by the government?
Well, that's true, I guess. To some degree. Okay, so let's see. That should have cleared that up, which is good. So, file, save all. Oh, no. That's an interesting concept to think about, you know?
Yeah, but it's something that's further down the track because it's a late stage implementation law-wise, but it definitely is an idea to kick. And it just means that we can actually think about some of the other aspects of slavery because it's been incorporated.
Yeah.
And does let me work with the idea of the new character grafting on the body of an actual slave who died from the Gladiators. So you basically have that training montage for the tutorial coming through the Gladiators. one way to approach it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Man, dude, this is like super crazy how little tiny grass patch spawns all this crap. Good to know, I guess, because then I can at least see it. That's gonna be my goal for the weekend with PCG is I'm gonna try to create the roads. That way we can have the city developed out pretty quickly.
Don't forget the road from the harbour up to the tunnel where we were talking through underneath to the Gladiators.
Wait,
the
what?
Circus Maximus thing. You know, where we're talking about the wild beasts coming off the ships.
I don't know. No, hold on. What? Let
when
this.
ships are unlocked and they turned up, and we talked about the entire scenario of circus animals being carted up to the front of the entrance / tunnel leading into the city itself proper. For the demo, you wouldn't get further than that, but for later on.
Well, I haven't thought about that. I'll be honest. I haven't put any effort towards this city in any way, shape, or form. So that's something I have to. Okay.
Well, it's something you don't need in place for the demo, so there's no point panicking too much.
One second. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out my orders because I have my last location that I have to go to for November to fully retire, and I don't have any clarity on where it is I'm supposed to go, who I'm supposed to meet. I need to make sure I get that done because it's coming up.
What's your call-up time after you get out? You know, where they can actually come back and say, no, we want you back in because we're going to war.
Forever. No, it's like 30 plus years. So
basically forever.
I mean, yeah. It's not a short period of time, I'll say that. So it's all based off of a need. I think it's like 35-ish, I think. Like, so if we go to war and a draft is set up, I'm like one of the first people that gets picked back in. Because I'm in the ready fleet reserve or whatever. Say again?
You're freshly retired, which means you're most up to date.
Yeah, correct.
I mean, let's face it, an old soldier might be a good soldier, but a soldier that actually knows what the current borders are makes sense.
When that's the mentality behind it, right? It's good to have new, fresh blood, but at the same time, you need the people who are old and salty and who've dealt with it all before. So, yeah, that's kind of the importance of it. I'm not saying I agree with it, but it is what it is. I signed up for it, and it is who I will be doing, and is the life that I will live.
It's alright. I'll just open up a new calendar, say days out at sea.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Well, hopefully all the current bullshit settles down, but who knows?
I mean, we'll know real soon. I think the whole world is waiting with bated breath for the events of, who's going to be the next American president. So past that, I think that's when we'll start to see the craziness either increase or decrease or whatever they're going to do. But I think a lot of countries are waiting, you know what I mean? Like, especially the ones who are opposed to American ideals. I think a lot of countries are kind of just waiting. Okay, well, who am I going to be dealing with? Because that's the thing, you know, like let's say you pop off now, and you think you're dealing with person X, and then all of a sudden the elections happen, and now you're dealing with person you know Y. You're like, oh crap. And that could go either way. I'm not saying either of them is better. I'll be honest, I have no clue who is better or worse. But for the sake of argument, is, you know, if I was to be,
whatever you end up with, that's the path that's taken.
correct. And so that's, you know, got to be careful. You know, if I was in their position, I would wait as well. I would be like, okay, we got like 19 days. Let's chill. Let's see what happens, and then we'll figure out how we're gonna handle this.
Actually, I'm kind of interested. If shit did hit the fan now, would Biden find himself ousted a little further? Just simply so that they could get some clarity.
I mean, I don't know. I don't think if like right now, probably not. Like I said, that would be, imagine we did have war, right? And then on top of that, we had to oust a president simultaneous. Oh, bro, that would chaos.
Well,
so I mean, who knows? Maybe that is what happens. But like I said, I think that would be absolute utter chaos.
Or they just lock him down in the office and say, sign these things.
I think that's probably the more accurate answer. Right? Like, it makes the most sense for all parties involved, kind of, you know? Like, hey, this is the path of least resistance, and let's not add chaos to this madness already. Just you know, be the figurehead.
And so many people forget, regardless of the fact that Biden's president or not president or anything like that, the reality is, as a person, losing your identity and your ability to be who you are, that's a freaky thing in itself.
Yeah, definitely an interesting concept, that's for sure. It's going to be a very interesting couple of weeks, that is for sure. Hopefully for better, not for worse. But we will see.
Head down, do a postal vote, and avoid all the election bombing sites.
Yeah, exactly.
But it'd be nice to actually see it be peaceful.
I don't know who I was talking with. I was talking with somebody the other day. You know, it's really crazy to think of how good we had it just a couple of years ago. Like, in all honesty, you know, the 2000s were, damn, dude, like, the early 2000s, it was pretty damn good. And then even in the 90s, you know, we had a couple of things here and there, but I mean, it was still overall, it was pretty damn good, man. It was pretty damn good.
It's become less about us and more about me, I think, as time goes on.
That's true. I definitely think that there's some soul searching that has to be done for the nation. And the world broad. I mean, you know, we're not the only ones dealing with it. And Europe is going through its own chaos, and, you know, the West in general is going through its own chaos and turmoil, and figuring out what that identity looks like and how you manage it. It's I mean, it's just it's crazy how we got here, coming from the awesome state that we had it in. And somehow we're back to chaos. I don't know.
Do you know what I actually technically blame in the back of my head? Social media. Social media gave everyone a voice. And
that's true too.
Found others who, and sometimes everyone has an opinion. I fully accept that, but sometimes some people's opinions should never ever be given the light of day.
But here's the question, right? That's okay. Fundamentally, that's true, right? But when we talk about that, who becomes the arbiter of that? And if we say that an arbiter can exist for that, how do we ensure that that person is, you know, judicious with how they distribute that arbitration? Because
Well, the distribution is obviously difficult, but if you think about it, we've always had systems in place that talk about things like hate speech and all of that sort of thing. We do actually
correct,
do have forms
but
of.
that's where, to your point, right? We as a society didn't know that, and because social media didn't exist, right? And so that was a construct that wasn't so readily available or understood by the masses, and so it wasn't necessarily a problem.
International borders basically eroded any sense of being able to police it, because
Yeah.
you could be in a different country saying what you want. More importantly, you can get a VPN that says you're in a different country saying what you want.
Yeah. Well, and that's true too. Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting, you know, dynamic of how that works and everything else. And that's, so, you know, the funny part is it's very similar to cybersecurity, and the mentality is the more secure you are, the more safe you are, right? The less access you have. So it goes back to that same kind of methodology, where is, okay, how safe do we want to ensure that we are? And in the process of doing so, how much freedom, or, you know, freedom of access, are we willing to give up? And I think that's the real balance that has to be struck, is okay, yeah, I want to ensure that, you know, I'm safe, but at the same time, there's a certain level of freedom that we shouldn't be giving up to ensure that. And that's, you know, again, different people view that differently, what those levels look like, you know.
But don't forget what that essence goes to. I mean, the ultimate being one person knows and we killed him. I mean, that's the essentially best form of security.
Well, correct. The full denial of access is, yes, the best form of security. But again, that's the whole point. Do you accept a little bit of risk to ensure that the overall process is free, or do you say, hey, the security of every individual and well-being is more important than the small risk, you know, of whatever that might be, whether it's, you know, hate speech, or you know, individual having freedom? Because I mean, you open lots of doors when you say, hey, that's what the First Amendment is it is a hodgepodge of, hey, I'm gonna take all this stuff in, and then you say, okay, well, the First Amendment only works in certain areas and it has restrictions and blah 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 blah. Okay, well, that's hypocrisy. Either it's true that you have the freedom to say whatever you want. Now, this is another important factor of this. There's so many facets, man. That's why it's fun to think about. But freedom of saying what you want does not mean freedom of consequence, and that is what a lot of people argue on the other side is oh, it doesn't mean I'm free of, you know, the consequences of what I say. And that is a true point, but at the same time, if that's true, then are you really free? So we have to come down to the concept of what, you know, free means. And I think a lot of people equate freedom meaning that there is no consequence for the action if I am free. And I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I would have to think about it, but I don't know if I necessarily agree with it off of premise.
Well, freedom at that level is anarchy.
Yeah. I get what you're saying.
I mean, when you get to the point where there is no consequence for whatever you do because you're a free person, that's your literal interpretation of anarchy.
And that's the, you know, the libertarian standpoint, though. You know, as long as I'm not causing harm to you, as long as I'm not causing harm to the world, I should have the freedom to do whatever it is that I want to do without consequence or you telling me how to do it, right? And so that's an interesting balance, I guess, because a lot of people in America enjoy freedoms that other countries don't even have. And when we talk about freedom, we're talking about freedom from our understanding of what freedom is, but you know, it's different for every different country.
And then you got that interesting case of the complexity of, you know, survivalists say, oh, I'm just going to live out in my mountain shack and have my little community there. But at the end of the day, you realize even though trying to pursue your absolute idea of freedom, you're still relying on a government / economy / rules to make your tents, make your various materials you use, make your guns that you buy, and all that sort of thing. You're not a self-sufficing community in any sense.
Yeah.
So your freedom is reliant on other people necessarily giving up their freedom to actually produce, manufacture, and do goods that they wouldn't necessarily want to do if they were free.
That's true. And like I said, I think there's a lot of complexities to that is very nuanced and for the American, generalist, because we don't necessarily understand that. There's a lot of people who use this same type of concept when we're discussing, service members and everything else like that. They'll say, hey, freedom's not free because somebody has to pay for your freedom, blah, 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 blah. And so to your point in that area, the service member is the one who's sacrificing so that you can chill and relax and have all your stuff and not have to worry about a draft that sends you to war. And so that's that kind of concept there. I think that's an interesting thing. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that sentiment, but it is something that gets brought up quite often.
Well, let's not forget the ultimate. I got a gun. Get off my property. That's the freedom.
Yeah. That's an interesting. I don't know, man. It's super complex to kind of even think about and try to work through, because there's just so many facets that go into it.
Yeah, it's like the right to bear arms, and I basically go, I have no real problems with the right to bear arms. I think the distribution sucks for a multitude of reasons, but the argument that has fallen way off course to me is when they said we need it against tyranny, and I think to myself, tyranny has a warthog. What the hell are you going to do with your little AR-15 or against a warthog?
I don't agree with that. I definitely disagree with that. That is, you're correct. You are correct. But that's under the assumption that the person that has the warthog has the ability to accurately wield that. And as we've seen through Russia and Ukraine's combat, just because you have tools doesn't mean you know how to use them. And there have been plenty of times when the underdog is more adept because they have the requirement to be so. You know what I mean? Like, they're using drones in ways that we wouldn't have initially thought to use drones, and they're using, they're using homemade drones, like basic stuff that nobody's used for war, to change the entire battlefield, and really took the Russians by surprise in that sense. You would think, why is that surprising? Because it's not really, if you think about it, but at the same aspect, it is. So I think there's plenty of ways that a system that has, maybe not as powerful guns as the government, can be beneficial. Maybe that's my, naive nature and my hopeful thought process that comes with, the true blue American type of mentality. But that being said,
it's lived experience. If you think about it, the reality is we have a decent quality of life. We have a decent. There are issues, sure, but we are so much better off than we were 200 years ago. In the height of the Industrial Revolution, working as 6-year-olds in a mine.
Yeah. I don't know.
So society overall is much better than what it could have been, and much better than people like to whinge at occasionally.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say that's not necessarily to your point, but in that same vein of conversation, that's kind of the whole thing. If I have, like, for example, in America, we have more guns in circulation than we have population. There is enough guns that every single person in the United States could be armed. I think it's with 5 or 6 guns, and we still would have a surplus of guns. So in that type of scenario, every person is a threat. In a scenario where it's government versus civilians, right? I'm not saying that that's what we want, but in this scenario where that was to exist, where it is government versus persons, every single person is a soldier. And that is a threat that keeps the government in check. Now, could the government go and bomb every single one of those people? Wholeheartedly. But once the government starts attacking its own citizenship, now you have guaranteed, that's the die is cast, that you have guaranteed that you're going to have these people going against you. And so if every
Well,
single
that's when
person
the
has the
military
ability
has
to be
a choice.
armed, say again.
That's when the military has a choice. I mean, at the end of the day, all successful revolutions have been a case of the military has chosen to switch sides.
No, I agree.
But
But to my point is if we didn't have that weaponry in place, that wouldn't even be an option. You would be quelled, or you would be forced to be using rudimentary systems or sabotage. That's the other methodology of the rebellious forces is sabotage. You wouldn't have the ability to defend yourself. You know, I'm not saying an AR-15 is taking out a warthog, but the AR-15 in the hands of, or the the weaponry, whatever it might be. I'm just using AR-15 because that's the term we use. Whatever weaponry in the hands of citizenship, that is the defensive mechanism that is a deterrent. It doesn't mean you're going to win the war, but it is a deterrent from making that governmental official, who's in charge, saying, hey, yeah, let's just go mow down this entire city. And you'd be like, okay, we could go mow down that city, but now we got a bunch of people who have guns who are going to be upset, and that's going to create more problems for us. So let's not mow down the city. Let's find another answer. You know what I mean?
I should point out in general context to anyone who might be listening, this is in terms of politics and that sort of thing. It is definitely not devoted to actual individual acts of stupidity
Well, yeah.
or
It's
terror.
hypotheticals. Hypotheticals. No, I think like I said, I don't ever want a scenario where we have to do that. Like I was talking about before, I want the 90s and the 2000s back. You don't ever realize how good you have it until it's after. And damn, dude, the early 2000s was legit. The only thing I cared about was, my cell phone, my Razor flip phone, and how cool it was. Like that was life.
And when Matrix released the little pop-up phone.
Right? Yeah, I didn't, Ukrainian situation, that's a whole another mixed bag of oof.
That's a
And
whole mixed bag, because on one side they've got a guy with a lot of nukes, and on this side you're basically going, how do we win this without actually getting nuked? Because that guy's stupid and crazy enough to burn his own house.
But see, and this is the crazy part, right? Or I wouldn't say it's crazy. This is the part of it that makes it so complex. There are people who don't believe that, right? Just like the Nazis and how that all worked. There are Nazis who don't believe that they were wrong and the things that they were doing and how they were doing it. And the part that is so profoundly complex is how the brain can be tricked to think that, right? And think that they were the victims and they were the ones who were dealing with the oppression. How does that happen? Like how does a Putin get in there where he's like, hey, I don't know, we're the oppressed people and we're just fighting back. At some point, the Russian people have to somewhat believe that, right? Because otherwise, why are they, not allowing him to do it? Now, maybe we come back to our question of, okay, well, what does Russia have the ability to kind of, curtail that? Maybe they don't. And so...
But don't forget, post-World War I, you had the massive... oh, God, I can't remember the actual economic term, but basically Germany was being economically fucked over by the rest in terms of paying back war debts and all of those sorts of things.
Yeah. But that was done on purpose. That was to keep them down.
Effectively, Russia, for the last X amount of years, has been going under increasing levels of tariffs, costs, expenses, bans, and all those sorts of things. So it's very easy for people who don't have necessarily easy access. Certainly not restricted, because I've known a lot of Russians in games throughout the years. But to see their actual standard of living drop little bit by little bit as those sanctions was the word I was trying to remember, bite in a little bit here and a little bit there, because it's never so devastating. It's just you suddenly wake up and you go, what happened to the golden days?
Yeah, death to like 1,000 cuts.
Yeah, and it's I 100% think that belief systems like that, and what happened post World War One is people slowly bleeding apart finally latched onto things they should never latch onto, because they go, hey, I've got this new pyramid system. So you're fucked.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, it's an interesting thing, because it's just crazy to think that that can exist, and that people can get that deranged on how they're dealing with it. And again, everybody kind of feels they're justified in their own way, and I don't pretend to know the dynamics of that situation in any way, shape, or form. But to your kind of point you were saying with the the Russians feeling a certain way, I've known plenty of Russians through gaming that have said the same thing. You know, like some people thought Putin was perfectly fine, and like, wait a minute, like didn't he like do a bunch of crazy stuff? But to them, he's taking care of their country in their mind, right? And so in their mind, what actions are being taken aren't bad. And so it's interesting to kind of understand that and see that from that perspective, whether it's right, wrong, individual, whatever. It's just interesting.
And sometimes we have state interests, like, for example, Gulf War II. You know, Iraq has weapons of mass destruction, being the reason to jump from Afghanistan over there. Complete bullshit, as we all know now in post-haste, but at the time, they sold their story.
Yeah, that's true. And that, I think that, I mean, that always exists, because there's levels that are way beyond anything that we as the public will understand, of what's going on, and power struggles and all of that. Like, yeah, there's definitely things that we will never grasp of what's going on.
There's levels of conversations that are had that we will never see, get access to, or even understand why it's happening in the first place, because we just don't have any relationship to it.
Yeah. Oh no, I don't agree with that. We have a relationship. We're just kept in the dark, and maybe for good reason. But yeah, we're yeah.
Why is it kept in the dark and fed on bullshit?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's definitely, the case in a lot of this is going to be, hey, we know what's going on, we kind of have an idea, but you don't need to know. Because again, I think there's things that if we knew as a society that we would be vehemently against, we'd be like, hey, no, we don't support that. Why are we doing that? But that's something that has to be done in order to maintain the power structure that is in existence, and to maintain the order in which, we kind of live and enjoy and probably take for granted in a real way,
Well, let's face it, at the end of the day, you and I are having a discussion where other real people are living that discussion and completely fucked up. We have the advantage of being in a relatively safe environment, you in America, me in Australia, and way the fuck away from all of that bullshit, except your immigration/violent crime issue that seems to be on the news all the time.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that is an interesting thought process as well. I don't know. Like I said, there's a lot of weird things that are happening nowadays in the world. I think I know what's happening. Not Spotify. Discord now has the ability to auto mute Spotify based off of if I'm talking or not, and it's muting it. I don't know. I'm talking right now and it's not muting it, but it's figuring it. So I gotta go change that. That's a new addition that just got added.
Was it affecting you when you were solo speaking, or is it only doing it when you and I are speaking?
No, I don't know. It's random. It's just stops. I haven't been able to figure it out, but I saw a notification on Discord that mentioned it. It said muting while talking. So that's where it kind of triggered my head. I was like, wait a minute, what? I'll check it out later. It's not gonna something I'm gonna fix on stream.
Yeah, no, obviously, but it'd be annoying to actually have your music background completely going on and off.
Yes, that is the factor that is annoying. Yes, you are correct. Okay, so the riverbed is good. comes down here. I'm gonna make a riverbed material. Just not yet. Let's do that. Rocks are good. Now we get some good rocks here. And that looks good. Obviously, I don't like this. I was just testing it out to see, because now I can spawn stuff on sand. So I can use that to spawn in, driftwood and other things like that. But I wanted to test it real quick. And then I have wet sand. So I think what I'll do is I'll do wet sand. I'll do wet sand for what am I looking for? I don't know why I'm having a brain fart right now.
I was gonna say, I don't know if you wanted to spawn that far into the water because you have a biome change.
What do you mean?
Well, that's when you start getting to corals, reefs, and and actual aquatic stuff.
Well, so that's
just rock on the beach.
Correct. So that's going to be the wet sand. The wet sand is what's going to spawn in coral and things like that. So if I go to what did I put this underneath? I think it's fluid flux. Where's fluid flux? It starts with an F. Did I put it under water? I might have put it under water.
Does seem logical.
Oh, I called that water flux. Yeah, so if I take this and I turn all that off, and then basically I can spawn in wet sand. Wet sand is where all the coral is going to be. The sand is auto-generated now based off of a height. I need to create a noise factor so that way it doesn't look like this silly, weird fade right here. But I am going to create, basically it's created off of a height, and that is how the sand is created now. So wherever I put the wetness is where the coral can spawn, or even we can have underwater kind of rocks and structures. I can do all of that based off of that lower location, which is kind of really cool. And that's why I added it. I need to add in mud. I got wet sand. There's a couple other ones I need to add, but anyways, if I go, let's say here, I make this wet sand. This will spawn in here. It'll spawn in a different set. So let me rebuild. Invalid actor files. Repair errors. Okay. Then I hit toggle. So now it should spawn a bunch of the little spikies on the wet sand. Yeah. So this is basically an actor that I've set up that has like a spiky. And so that way on the wet sand I get the spikies. I need to also make it to where it parses at wet sand minus sand. I didn't do that in the last one. But you can see that's kind of like more, I'm just, imitating it. That's more corally down here. And then that's what basically I'll do wet sand throughout the entire bottom part. I was thinking about autoing it, but I don't know. I think I'd rather hand paint it than auto it, because then I can paint in different coral reefs and then have the normal sand and everything else. So
you could do a combination of both areas that don't matter, but where you got something of point of interest, or yeah, tricky.
Yeah.
On the other hand, you remember the classic pick up poop type quests that exist out of there.
Yeah, right.
That'd be an interesting thing to auto out if you're doing some sort of pickup quest. So it's never in a guaranteed spot, which means people can't necessarily, run through to something. They will actually have to look.
That's true. I mean, I don't. Again, I don't know if we're gonna have the pickup quest type stuff here.
Oh no, it's not necessarily for here. It's just something that, as a background thought, I kept thinking to myself, there's nothing more annoying than going, "Where's this last piece?" And you go to the YouTube video, and it's upside down behind this, but the answer's already there. With
Yeah.
something that's like that, it doesn't matter. You can't look for help except good luck, mate.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a good point.
Yeah, and it ensures that each playthrough differs on various things like that.
Well, and that's the nice part about the PCG stuff is we can use PCG to actually spawn in random POIs. So there's things that can always be the same, and then there's things that can be different. Over here on this side we can have different spawn-ins, and that's kind of what I'm thinking about doing is setting it up to where maybe there's different ruins, or different locations or different routes or things like that that can be spawned, using PCG to really kind of leverage that. And that's kind of my thought process.
That could work really well post-boss when certain things are activated, which I'm not talking openly on stream, because then you could have your actual different generations of PC pool depending on the output of what happened.
That's true. That could be interesting too. I haven't fully kind of figured out how I want that to work yet, but that is true. Like I said, there's a lot to kind of go into for that. There's a lot we haven't, even approached in any way, shape, or form.
That's obviously more full game than demo.
Yeah. Well, ultimately I want the demo to be as close to the game as possible. With
We're
reason.
only going to see one or two effects because the rest of the island will basically not be there. Oh, potentially you could do it from a side angle, depending on where you stand. You could see physical changes, I guess.
And that's kind of where there's a lot of code stuff that's going to restrict what we do with the demo, not necessarily what I would want to restrict, but because we just have a limitation of what we can accomplish in the time given. I don't know, we'll see. With Kindred on board, we have the ability to kind of knock out some more stuff than I would have originally thought. Once
either that, or we generate an atmospheric shield that generates off the walls and basically bubbles off part of the island.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. I still think we're gonna probably just have it. It's just gonna be a wall. I think that's the real answer, is we just block out the wall, and that's the easiest way. I had kind of like a dream, I think it was. I don't know if it was a dream or if I just kind of thought it. I can't remember, but
did it have content of character?
No. But I was thinking that it would be cool to have one of the parts of the island have the goblins have like a little camp, and that's what blocks you off, because there's a goblin there who's like manned a laser turret and basically just like is going to town on you. So you can't get past him because you've got a laser turret that's basically just pew, 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 pew.
So what you're saying is you're going to finally have an effective border force.
For the game, yeah.
No immigration into town.
Yep. All we did was we just started firing at you with the goblin. Like, da, 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 da. Okay.
Well, I mean, you've seen all the various border spawns. Like, you had the sharks in one game. I can't remember what it was.
Subnautica had a big creature, right?
The Leviathans. Yeah, there's all sorts. And then WoW came out with fatigue because someone swam over to GM Island. There's all these sorts of border controls. I do like the feeling of not being restricted and just having another mechanic fuck you over, as opposed to just running full on to a visible wall that just says, "Yeah, you're not going any further," and just takes you out of the game straight away.
Yeah, I agree, and I don't want that either. If we can avoid that, we're going to avoid that. And if the player, figures out a way to bypass that, I'm okay with that too. I'll be honest. I think if somebody is going to put forth that much effort, that was one of the cool things when I was playing in Lineage 2. I found the bug. It was very common back then on the hill, right? And you could move sideways while holding your camera in a certain way.
Yeah.
And so then you could basically move vertically on the side of a mountain that you're not supposed to. And I got into the area that was inaccessible, and stuff like that was really cool to do. And I got to see content that didn't even exist or that wasn't supposed to exist, for the common player base. That made me feel super cool, and that helped the experience, at the cost of what they had a player who saw, something like, and I couldn't get any items from it. There was nothing that I gained from it other than the fact that I was able to access that area and say, yay, I accessed this area.
Well,
So
even in areas that were difficult access, do you remember on top of WoW in Ironforge, where you basically got on top of the
yeah,
mountain and you find the airport and you got the trogs fighting the goblins? It just events that happen completely without you until you're there.
yeah,
Or
yeah,
or the
yeah.
troll disco party in Darkshore. Flying actually wrecked a lot of them because it suddenly meant you could access them, but before you could only look from a distance and go, fuck you. Stop having fun while I'm killing your cousins.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Yeah, I think, flying opened up a lot too in that game though. Like, I can be honest, man. I hated traversing. But here's the thing. That's a really interesting point. I hated traversing in that game. Like, I absolutely hated it. But one of the coolest things was walking through that forest, and walking through that Everglade, and then seeing all the big trees, and then seeing all the there was something about that just was rewarding. I don't know what it is. So it's interesting that we talk about that, because thinking about it, like, that was what made my original playthrough, was playing the Night Elf and seeing that cool forest and the big trees, walking through the cool forest, and that's what made that game so epic.
For me, that's the same thing with the Night Elf, but it's because I fell off the fucking Eldrassil. And I
Yeah.
kept falling, and I kept falling, and I kept falling, and I thought, what the fuck? One second,
Yeah.
answer phone.
Yeah, it was it was interesting times, man, because nothing like that existed, and the ability to kind of traverse and go all the different areas and just have free reign was just so powerful, because you weren't used to that. You were used to such a linear process, and then having the ability to kind of basically be unchained and say, hey, go do whatever you want to do, wherever you want to go, however you want to go there, you go do it. I don't care. That was big.
And to me, that's why I think Final Fantasy XIV as an MMO lost out to things like WoW and possibly Guild Wars 2. Just that loss of being able to wander without, limitations other than the actual physical, oh, there's a stone wall in the way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a factor. I think that's definitely it definitely is a factor, because I didn't like Guild Wars 2. I liked Guild Wars 1, but it had a different reasoning behind it. It had a different kind of structure built around it. And so it was very interesting how that was built in comparison to, the WoW structure. And honestly, I didn't get super hardcore into WoW like everybody else did. I originally played the beta. I originally played all of that and did all of that and had my fun after the beta and the alpha, and then they made some changes that I wasn't okay with, and then I went on deployment, came back, and I was kind of over with and done with it. I think BC really kind of killed it for me. A lot of people swore by Wrath of the Lich King and that whole thing, and I don't know. It was fun, but I didn't.
Wrath was really, it gave people huge amount of wrap up from the game before it, well, Warcraft 3, I think it was,
Yeah.
where Arthas was created as the villain and became everything in the actual single-player game.
Yeah.
And that was such a huge lore piece that when Wrath of the Lich King, the people just ran for it. And then straight after that, they did fucking Cataclysm, which was like the worst descent of, I'm releasing a world-destroying dragon, but everything's going to happen off-screen, and you'll turn up and go, oh, the entire world's changed.
Yeah. That was an interesting thing too. I did like it though. Like a lot of people hated it. I actually liked Cataclysm as a
I liked it
structure.
when it went back. Yeah, I liked it when it went back to actually having to be hardcore. Unfortunately, at that point, they'd made it so easy that people, the hardcore players, appreciate it, but the majority of players weren't hardcore anymore. And by
that's
then,
true.
a lot of the population had aged in and had got beyond the student status and were into actual jobs and starting to get relationships. And
Yep.
so you'd already had your audience starting to age out of being able to do 6-hour raids.
And that's true too. I liked some of the enhancements that they had made to where they made, LFR, and they made it more accessible, because that was a factor for me. I couldn't do the raids that were all night long and, blocked out. Oh, my Tuesday's completely gone. I couldn't do it. I wanted to, but I just couldn't do it. I didn't have the time, And so I liked the LFR editions and things like that, because for people like me, I could experience some of the content, and enjoy some of that stuff without having to deal with that whole process of, kind of, hey, I gotta go gear grind, guys. So I liked it. But I do know that, yeah, there's a bunch of hardcorees that had issues with it. And then the other part is you'd have somebody like me. What I could go in hardcore on was PvP. I would play the crap out of PvP. But what that would result in is I would have better gear than some of the people who were, doing the hardcore raids, and then they would go and cry about the fact that the PvP gear was better than the PvE gear. And so then that led to more nerfs, and I don't know, man. It was I don't know. And then they messed with healing. Oh, that was the biggest thing for me, man. They effed up healing so bad, because their numbers were already crazy to begin with, and they were like, well, we want to go back to retcon the healing where it's less powerful. Like, you literally just nerfed the class that people play, where their only focus is helping people. And you made it to where they have less heals, and their heals are less effective. And then, on top of that, they gave more healing to all non-healing classes. So you made healers basically pointless in some area, and you're like, okay, I'm done.
Well, let's face it. End of BC, you had a tree druid could basically single-handedly heal an entire AV40 team.
Oh yeah.
The other side, if they didn't have any, tree druid of themselves. Actually,
Yeah.
back then they weren't. But it was ridiculously OP.
Well,
But,
that's because they
as
didn't
you said,
balance
they
it
nerfed
when they
the shit out
created
of
it.
Well,
Like,
and they got everyone who can basically sit down once it's all done and go, oh, this is the optimum build and all that sort of
yeah.
thing.
Well, then that definitely happened.
Yeah. I mean, the release of Classic WoW and all that sort of thing, everyone thought it's going to be a recreation of the old experience, and I thought, no, it's not.
Yep.
Everyone has data mined the crap out of it. They've got the optimum tracks to level up to 60. They've got the optimum tracks to put the right combinations of gear, got from the right places, how to farm it.
Yep.
And then you had people, even on the release, had learned how to mess around with the phasing to basically unlock Molten Core in
Mm-hmm.
way shorter time.
Yeah.
It's at the end of the day, is anytime people get to re-experience something old, it's not going to be the same experience.
No, and that's what you sell, and that's what you market and pay for, is the experience. And that's I think that's really what made WoW such a cultural phenomenon, was the experience of what you were getting to do and how you were getting to do it. And there was no other game that offered that in any way, shape, or form. You had kind of you had the other MMOs, Dark Age of Camelot, EverQuest. You had those that kind of just teetered on that concept, but WoW was really the first one that leveraged the full force of what that was for that genre. And
EverQuest, because Sony bought them out, went into a cash grab with expansion after expansion.
yeah,
But if they'd managed to hold on to the original ideas, they had a really good chance of actually pushing beyond, what it ended up, because they just simply needed to improve the base game graphics and gameplay and all that sort
I
of
was
thing.
about to say the thing that killed that was graphics, man. Like EverQuest didn't keep up with
They aged out.
graphics. And yeah, then you had WoW that had the nice graphics. I honestly think I enjoyed a lot of EverQuest's gameplay more than WoW, especially Dark Age of Camelot. Especially, I came from Lineage 2, man. I wanted a hardcore.
Everyone will talk about Dark Age of Camelot, and I always like this because it's listening to people, and you'll hear people go, the Dark Age of Camelot, and I go, you're fucking 20 years younger than the actual game. There's no way you played it. But everyone holds it to, the golden light of brilliance.
Yeah.
And they're going, Jesus Christ. But yeah, I know, I take exactly what you mean. Dark Age of Camelot, EverQuest, WoW. WoW made everything accessible to people who didn't normally have games. And
Yep.
to be honest, it brought women in.
That is true.
And
No, I agree. I
and
agree
then
wholeheartedly.
Final Fantasy brought more women in. Completely different reason, but
well, that's true. Yeah, I actually remember my wife, I was going on deployment, and I was like, okay, I'm like, she's brand new to America, has no clue what to do in America or anything else, and I was like, here's a video game, go learn how to play this, I'll see you in 6 months. And I came back, and she had completely learned how to play WoW. She was farming gold, like it was a big old thing. She was fighting Chinese farmers for supremacy over the markets because that's what she liked to do. That was what she enjoyed doing, and it was funny to see her. She wasn't into video games prior to that, but that video game, for whatever reason, was able to capture her and kind of give her that type of mentality. And so, it was interesting to see how easy she took on to that process, and WoW was able to do that. That was a WoW thing. I don't know if I could have gotten her into any other game. In fact, I tried and nothing else really worked. Minecraft a little bit, when we had our Minecraft servers, but no, WoW was, I didn't have to try, man. That was easy.
it was simple enough. There was a community guild, still one of the best guild setups for the early part.
Yep.
For people being able to. I think they did an excellent job of destroying that with every expansion they went on, especially
Yeah.
Warlords of Draenor, when they introduced garrisons and completely isolated everyone.
Yep.
But it also had the ability that you had so many different paths that you could go through the economic manipulation of the auction houses and cross trading with the horde and all those sorts of things. You had the going off and just doing fishing if you wanted. It had a large amount of different activities to suit people.
Yeah.
So, and I always thought that we never really expanded on enough. I mean, archaeology was more like a game within a game. It felt more like a chore necessarily than just simply doing something relaxing.
Yeah. I mean, they had ideas with it. I think they kind of, played with a couple of concepts. I didn't like the early questing. Like, the early questing was very, very, very basic. But as the expansions came on, I remember, Cataclysm, and you had to save the little bear. Like, that was super cool, and you had like little tiny things like that where the quests got progressively better, and more, robust. And then you had the archaeology thing where, hey, we're in the raid, does anybody an archaeologist, because they can do this portion of this. And that was where I think I was hoping it would go, because that is the really cool.
The followed up.
Yeah, like, hey, I'm going to make my skill usable. Like, the what was it? Damn, it was near the human island or whatever it was, but it was the where the harvesters were, and they had the fields. I can't remember. It starts with a W. Anyways,
Westport.
Westfall, yes. So in that instance, you had to have a rogue. And if you didn't have a rogue, you couldn't get through a bunch of the instances. And so you would be like, okay, who's a rogue? And you would specifically look for rogues because of how that instance was. I thought that was a cool idea. Like, hey, we need a rogue for this dungeon, so let's go do that. And so that way it made your class, it made your class relevant.
I agree with that. I mean, there was something else that Sunwell, not Sunwell, Sunwell, yeah, where you're actually using the God, I can't remember. It was Soothe Beast.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it was a spell you never fucking use anywhere.
Yep.
And just in that one instance, it worked perfectly for getting through some trash mobs.
Yep. Nope. I liked that. I liked that ability for you to really be able to kind of utilize what it is that they set you up for. They got rid of a lot of that. And I know why, but at the same time, when you get rid of that individuality, you do really kind of, I don't know, lose some of what made the game fun. So
yeah, when you homogenize, you destroy any hope that people are going to stick long term.
Yeah.
And I think hunter pets, when they basically
bro,
when they did that, was kind of the death of the start. And I understand why they did it. I just disagree 100% with what they did, because they just started the process of trying to make everything simplistic from a game point design and destroyed everything that made people like it.
I absolutely, like, especially in PvP arenas, like, this hunter spawns 9 billion monsters, and you're like, bro, how am I supposed to fight 9 billion monsters? Oh, you just ignore them. No, and then they had the different monsters with different perk. I was like, okay, this is the most broken class ever. I don't know. Hunters were OP for a very, very, very long time for that very reason. They were like, oh, let's put in this cool mechanic. And if, again, as a hunter, it was a cool mechanic. But everybody else, you're like, wait a minute. You telling me I gotta fight an entire army of animals? Like, how is this even possible?
You got the locks.
Yeah. Well, and warlocks were OP, shadow priests were OP. One point, paladins were OP, and then I was there.
Paladins didn't need to be OP. They just say fuck you, bubble and earth. So
well, and that's what I hated. They got rid of that. When you could cancel bubble, I was like, what the F, bro? What paladin hating person literally did this? Because canceling the bubble hurt, that was the whole fun part about it.
Yeah,
I used to love that.
Doing mind control to push people off the edge of cliffs.
Oh yeah, I remember that too. Oh my god, that was like you would never fight a priest over near the cliffs, because that would instant. You'd be like, oh, I asked for that. I was fighting you near a cliff. Or into other big world mobs. Yeah, good times.
And we got rid of it all because someone complained. Nerf this, nerf that. We're so good at nerfing and taking things away. Oh, that was going flashback to the point where I was going to talk. When we're talking about politics and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And the good old days. I said the trouble is the longer you have governments and systems of power stay the same or stay in power, the more legislations that get introduced, slowly restricting bit by bit. One of the biggest issues Australia ran into was when they actually went to dissolve a whole bunch of old laws, but because part of it was entailed with our constitution and they had to go through a referendum, got completely knocked back because they basically scared the shit out of people. So a whole bunch of rules like, we can take an ox pulling a wood stump into the middle of Sydney, and if we need to turn the road, we can bash out the side of a building, which was all fine in colonial days when, if the building was wood, but you could still legally do it now that you've got skyscrapers. So they're trying to dump a whole bunch of old laws like that made no sense, but couldn't. It's frigging. And the trouble is if you can't keep your legislation adapting to modern day, but also getting rid of things that are no longer relevant and thus no longer used as a weapon, because we still get cases that pulled from the 1700s or something like that rules, and they say, we're going to use this, and you go, it's not meant to be used that way, but they go, but the law lets me use it that way. So I think one of the issues we have, the longer we have government, the more rules that exist in place that will slowly fuck us, which is why we get that slight decline.
It's a double-edged sword, though. Like, as with anything, I think, because you're right. That definitely, I see that happening. But again, people make the same argument for the Second Amendment rights, where they're saying, hey, this is not how this was intended to be used. This is not what your forefathers wanted. This is not what the founders, thought of. Like, they didn't even know what an AR-15 was, and so we should look at that rule. And I think that if all actors are good, right, and all actors are pure in their intent, then I agree with that premise. But what happens is you've got bad actors and bad people who will take such a review of that and make it for their own benefit. So you have to be careful. I agree, like being able to break out the side of a building, that doesn't make any sense. So common sense ones, but the question then becomes, what's common sense and who agrees on it? And again, at that same time, who's the arbiter? And the answer for America is it's all based off of voting. That's the answer. If the public wants it, then the public gets it. And it doesn't matter if it makes sense or not. That is the importance of our structure, is it's all based off of voting.
And the more important question is, how the fuck am I supposed to deliver my oxen cart pulled wood if I can't bash the side out of the building?
Exactly. Well, and in America, if that was a problem that many people faced, they would fight for that. But if it's not, then it would get ruled out. And that is kind of where that gets, sticky. And what you're talking about, and I think is an important factor for thought processing, is kind of understanding, what is inconvenient for one might not be inconvenient for the masses. And
An answer Unreal.
Huh?
Text on conversation.
Oh, hey, I didn't see it. It wasn't going down. How's it going, Unreal? How was your stream? You don't necessarily, what's good for one might not necessarily be good for the whole. And in a structure where you are no more important than the great, masses, then that is where things change and get altered and values get shifted based off of that. So it's an interesting concept for sure. I kind of don't want this all to be dirt, but I think it's just gonna all be dirt, to be honest. Because I don't want.
Pull it in later as a placeholder for the moment. It's fine. It didn't matter too much whether it was green or dirt. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I agree. This is a placeholder, but I'm trying to do it so that way PCG isn't spawning a billion trees that don't need to be there.
Well, you just call it basically stuff to deal with later for everything, and turn it to dirt so PCG doesn't infect with it.
Well, that's true. That's good to hear, man. Glad to hear. I saw your text message. That's crazy, and that's also good that you're kind of freed up. I know it's obviously not the most ideal scenario for you, but at the same time, it is good. Yep. Hey, well, good to have you on the team. I think we were gonna have a bandit camp here, I think. I don't know. I'm just gonna put it there for
Is
now.
Unreal Danilo?
Yeah. Yep.
Ah, hello, Unreal/Danilo. Nice to meet you. Stormy.
Stormy's our
A
lore.
lazy person.
He's our lore person.
I have the ultimate understanding of lore. Cause why did it happen that way? Cause
Because like
fuck that. That's 2 extra letters I have to write. Try and not make me work hard, man.
right?
Cause
Guess that works. Whatever makes you happy.
well, also address the 4-year-old community because that's their level of speaking.
I don't know how many 4-year-olds we have watching me.
Ah, but they might be playing the game as they're babysat by the TV.
Well, you know, that was actually funny. I was at my friend's. I went to my friend's this weekend, and his kids were there, and they were talking about, you know, I was talking about, you know, I make video games, and they're like, oh, can we play it? And I was like, well, it's not done yet, so when it's done, sure. And I'm thinking to myself, am I supposed to say yes to this? Because these kids might, like, there's blood and gore and guts, like things are being cut open, and I don't know if this is necessarily a cool kids game. But the art style is 100% a kids game, right? Like, it's playful in nature, just maybe not so much when it comes to content. I
Your
was like,
your gore is not even close to believable at this point.
well, I don't want it to be. I'm
No,
again.
but that's what I'm saying. It's even for a 4-year-old. They're not going to sit there and go, "Oh my god, this is realistic as shit."
No, but their parents might.
And I'd be disturbed by the parents who sit there and go, "That's." I'd be worried about their life experiences if they were sitting there going, "That's oh my god, that's too bloody."
Look, Mester had somebody say it. Happy 3 friends.
Yeah, but he lives in Europe. I mean, that's where, you know, everything is left of the left.
That's true. I don't know. I can't remember. He had somebody who was like, "Oh my God, there's blood," and that was that little tiny blood particle that I had. I didn't even have dismemberment in then. Oh, Happy Tree Friends. Oh yeah. That's
Happy Tree Friends was good.
that's definitely a gore cartoon.
And let's not forget, we also live in the. I mean, someone made the analogy that a child now has more access to various pictures of naked women, you know, than like King Solomon with his 1,000 wives or something like that.
Yo, bro, if I had access to like these people do to Twitter and everything else, Channel 99 would have never have been on my radar. That's all I'm saying. Like, God.
And so, if you've got that, you're also looking at that doesn't just apply to images of porn. That applies to images of violence. That applies to virtually anything. There's a plethora of information that is overwhelming compared to any point in the past.
Hey, Sherry Fino. How are you doing? Yeah, that's true. There's a lot of that.
Yeah, there was a lot of talk about how Vietnam brought the war into people's homes and the televisions, through the journalist reportings, and that was, you know, the first time people were actually getting, even though it was vicarious, they were still getting a front seat view to actual war, even though it was somewhat censored.
Yeah, that's true.
And Gulf War 1, same thing. Peter Arnett sitting in the middle of Baghdad completely undermined the entire other side with the Americans with the propaganda control, because he's getting there going, yeah, they're tossing missiles at us and blah blah. This was a baby milk factory. Yeah. We've never had that before unless we were actually there in the situation. I mean, your peasants in the old days, when a battlefield happened on your field, yeah, you were fucked. But if you're 2 fields over, there was literally nothing happening because war was so localized.
Yeah.
Now it's everywhere.
Yeah, and that's very
We
true.
get to see it.
I'm fine except for my arm. It still hurts. And you? I am well. Thanks for asking. I'm sorry to hear your arm is doing bad. I'm just working on we're working on making things pretty. Oh, we got Fino up in Twitch. What's up? Hey Fino. Both chats should be working today. I think they are.
They are.
Nice.
They are. I can see both.
Nice. Okay, I was gonna say both chats should be working today. I finally got that working. Okay, so we've spent some good time kind of just making sure that the dirt is there. We should have, of course, no, I still have some issues. So I'll probably have to fix up some of the dirt because it's obviously not flawless. It's kind of getting there, but obviously I have little patches that I have to fix. So
Is that the nature of the painting tool, and that there's a certain amount of inaccuracy with it, or just simply you've missed sections?
No, it's a so the tool is not set to 100% strength. If I set it to 100% strength, then I wouldn't have an issue.
Any reason you selected off it?
Yes, because it allows me to kind of play with and make nice blends. But you are correct in the sense that if I'm making big, huge changes like this, maybe I shouldn't, have it not at 100%. I guess. That's a good point.
So basically map your main areas in 100%, and then as you get to the edges, push it down to a blending. You were just being lazy and trying to keep it all on one.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't call it lazy, but I would call it, I'm trying to keep it nice and blendy. So you can see, look, this is super harsh. It's blended because of my height map. Oh yeah, 1,000 Ways to Die. Oh, definitely. Yep, you're not wrong there. But anyways, it's really harsh when you put it to 100%. There's ways around that. Like you can use masks, and you can actually use different brush settings. But again, we're not going hardcore in this just yet. We're kind of cheaping it. This is the quick and down dirty version of it. So I can get rid of some trees and create some sight lines that exist exactly as they, well, not exactly, but close to as they might exist for the final version of the game.
I'll go back further than Happy Tree Friends 1,000 Ways. Go back to Spy vs. Spy. In the
Spy vs. Spy was pretty good, yeah.
I mean, if you think about the fact of there was literal death and all of that sort of thing.
Yeah.
That was death every week or every day.
Shino, thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. Scholar and a gentleman, perhaps you're a lady either way. Hello and welcome to the Pig Nation. Maybe it's Gladiator Nation now. I don't know. Either way.
You're going to start dividing the Centurion amongst various Roman legionary ranks.
Hey, you never know.
Become a full-time supporter. If you go to this paid level, you'll be a Centurion. If you go to this level, you'll be a lead.
Hey, that's a smart marketing method. What are you talking about?
You get to wear the special cap unlocked for your character if you're at this level of Patreon support.
I mean, we were doing that. I mean, you remember that. We had those methods.
Yeah. And we still have that to do at some point once we get this out.
Oh my god. I don't know if we're ever going to make that game.
We can redesign aspects of it so that it's not quite so intensive, but I still think the farming game was legitimate.
No, the farming game was 5,000% legitimate. We would have made a ton of money. I would have had a studio that would have had, craziness, but just wasn't the time.
Yeah, you went on a boat.
Wasn't the time.
Yeah, you went on a boat.
Yep. I went on a boat. Okay, so Sherry Fino is one. Yeah. I'm tracking that. We were just. I can't add that to my thing. I can't be like, hello, welcome, thank you. Perhaps you are a lady or a gentleman, or maybe you're Sheriffino wine. Like, come on, no. I'm not doing that. So, to kind of test it out, looks good. Sight lines are good. I'm still getting about 42 frames, which is not bad at all.
Just realized I'm gonna have to go and buy some food for Queen tonight, so I'd better disappear.
Okay. Well, see you later.
Everyone in chat, you have an excellent day, night, / wherever you are in the world, and remember, listening to Ryu is like taking a jackhammer to the back of the head.
Hey, it's not that bad.
By the time you finish, they'll do whatever you tell them because you've hollowed out their brains.
Okay, this is family friendly.
Since when? We're just talking about the fact that we've got gore in a family kid-looking game.
Look, it's family friendly. I'm just saying it so I can say it. Fino is a guy, but his name, it means specific type. No, I know that. Oh, man. Oy. So a long time ago, when I first started this stream, I would say hello and welcome. You're a scholar and a gentleman. That was my shtick, right? That was my thing. And then some person was like, well, what if I'm not a guy? What if I'm a girl? And I was like, oh, okay. Well, perhaps you are not a gentleman, you're a lady and a scholar. And so that's where that comes from. But yes. It's a amalgamation of the old community. I didn't want to get rid of it yet, I guess. I don't know. Oh damn, that's definitely blocked. That tree. Get out of here, tree. That's huge. Okay. Overall, it looks good. Structure looks good. Let's see how. I still need to clean some stuff, but I did get rid of a bunch of trees there, so that's good. Well, so that's a new thing, right? Like, that didn't exist back when I first started streaming. It wasn't a thing. Now that's a new thing. So yes, it is. You have the capability of now declaring yourself as an item. Yes, this is correct. Wait, what? What? Oh my lord! It's blocking the path. What the hell? Who? Bro, you're not supposed to be there. That's where PCG be sucking. You identify as a habitat? Nice. Okay. So, world is looking good. I'm liking it. Am I full? No, I'm not full. I'm just full of the stam pots. Okay, cool. I was like, what? Let's identify as Unreal. Yeah, well, that's what Unreal does. He identifies as Unreal. That's why his name is that way. So he can be like, hey guys, I'm Unreal. Dang, that sucks. I'm gonna have to figure that out. I don't want that. That shouldn't. I don't know why that's happening. I bet you because it's spawning over here somewhere. Like the node is somewhere over here. And so it peeks into that. That's not. No buenos, man. Wasn't that error sound from hell, which is. Yeah, correct. My coder, Mester, he put that as the sound for whenever you are full. He put that as the sound. I'm up there. Yeah, looking good. Okay, so I think we've done a good job at getting the dirt and everything else there, but we do need to finish the temple. Yep. Clothing physics is nice. I like it. It does get stuck sometimes, but for the most part, it's good. I gotta make sure those big rocks don't spawn. Yep, everything looks good. Structure-wise, we're good. I like it. Okay, I'm happy with it. I am happy with it. Let me make sure I save everything. I hid these over here so that way somebody gets curious, they can actually find it. But we need to basically finish this off. We kind of put it together structurally in the last stream. I want to kind of get it done so that way it's there. I also need to finish the dungeon. I don't know. We'll see. Hello to my little cousins if you're there. I said that they said my cousins were watching. So hello little cousins. I'm gonna have to make versions of them for this too. Okay, so let's do the temple, right? And let me switch up the music. Have I heard? I don't think I've listened to Pulse. Let's try that. Okay, and what time is it? Oh, we got time. We're gonna put in a little bit more work. We're at 3 hours right now. Normally I would stop the stream, but I'll probably go to 4. I do need to take a quick little break, so give me 2 seconds. I'm gonna go to the bathroom real quick, and then I will be right back. Yeah, it's, well, 6:21 for some people, not for me. See if it's not working right now. Okay, I'll manually do it. Manual. Okay, I'm back. In 3 days later, the stream will resume. No. I had to go to the bathroom. Okay, stream is back. Is that not working? Wait, what? Wait, what? Oh, did BRB actually go through? Oh my lord. Why? My stream is being silly right now. There you go. Whoa. I was like, come on, man. There we go. Now you can see me. Okay. Let's spend the next hour finishing up this. We can make this look pretty. Right? Nine is a lot. Maybe what? 30? Yeah, 30 is what we want. Why? I do not understand this program, bro. That's front. Yeah, that's front. Okay, so that's side. Uh-oh. There we go. Oh, that's bottom. Yeah, there we go, top. Wait, is it what? This isn't the pulse one? Wow. This is like hardcore. I've never been a fan of the round columns. But what if we had like the square columns that come up and then they'll fan out a little bit. I mean, that's where we hold. Yeah, I like that. Ow. Okay. Let's fix one side first. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Mm-hmm. Maybe 10. Oof, that's a lot. Maybe 2. That's not too bad. Nope. Let's do that. I should be able to come down to. Yep. So that's half the player's height right there. We can go up a little bit more, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Let's play with it first. So this comes out 2, maybe 3. I don't know. So the problem with doing what I'm currently doing is it's no longer stuck to that size, which is not good. When you do these type of things and you're making a modular, you have to remember to always stick to the size, and you should very rarely ever have an overhang. Which means I'm gonna have to modify all this. That's okay. So let's fix that real quick. So we basically make a 30. Let me bring that over here. So that's basically the answer. Everything's got to be moved inside of this. So that way it lines up properly. And then we just move it up to be on the grid. Okay, so that's all lined up and good. Okay, so that's exactly where we want that. So let's do modify, freeze, transform, move that out the way. Get that. Where's that cube? Okay, get rid of that one, and then we'll put this one back to where it was. Okay, so let's see what this looks like. Oh, I forgot to unhide the roof. Yeah, I like that better. What's the size of the player? Yeah, that's good. What? How is that? Are they not even? Oh, what the F? They're not even. How did I mess that up? I definitely messed that up. Because that's protruding through the roof on this side when it shouldn't. That's not cool. Oh well. Wait, what? No, grab it all. There we go. So let's say it's like, oh, or maybe right there. Yeah, that's better. We'll do the same thing for all of the inside. Basically, I'll mimic this, but put this in all of the different fields. Because again, I don't like that circular stuff. Okay, cool. This reminds me of old techno. I'll see you later, Unreal. Thank you for stopping in. Appreciate it. Look forward to your next stream. I missed the last couple ones because of my schedule, but I should be on target to watch tomorrow whenever your next stream is, so I look forward to it, bro. Have a good night. Oh, that would be cool. Hey, well, I'll definitely be there. Yeah, that looks way better. Look at that. That's nice. Good night. Okay, so for the inside, I'm not really gonna have much. Maybe I might have like some wood framing that comes across, maybe. I don't really know yet. But I think I like this. We just need to have the floor be something special. I think that's it. Maybe there's a little tiny puzzle that happens in this room or something, you know? And I don't like... I know that's what it was. Like, that's how they did it. I don't know. I think maybe we... I think it'd be cool to have that be like a trellis. I think that's how I want that to look, maybe. I haven't fully decided yet. Clearly this is broken, because otherwise it wouldn't be the way that it was. Let's finish this part up. Trying to think how I want that to visually look. Inside it's fine. It might be beneficial to have some on the back side too. Ah, what if that's like stepped down? That's an interesting concept, right? I like that idea. Why did I do that? What was the reasoning behind that? Do I know? Probably not. Okay, so then I'm trying to think how I want to do that. I'm just gonna bring it back. So it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, okay. See you later, Adis. Thanks for stopping in. I appreciate it. Have a good night. Don't be a stranger. You're always welcome with me. And I think that goes over 10. Yeah. Yeah, it does. Okay, so I'm streaming every night. So you're welcome to come any night. If not, no worries. We'll see you when you see you, my friend. Have a good one. Okay, so that should extend that out, which it does. Great. And that does that, which is good. So basically I come back outside. I have those pillars there. Maybe... Well, no. That's fine. That's fine. What if they have like this and then it columns down? I like that idea. Where you come out here and like there's kind of like maybe a column. Yep. I'm just trying to visualize how I want this to look. This is a old temple. Everybody who comes here goes to worship the old gods. Basically, maybe it's a different god on each section, like a memorial for each one, right? And then instead of having these, like they'll have the statue of whatever the god is. We bring this. And then there's like an offering for that god. It's killing me. So then you could have a different god that you could worship inside here. Or maybe that's a lot of gods. That's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so that's basically that's a lot. That's 10 gods. I don't want to make up 10 gods. Who wants to do that? I don't want to do that. What if instead we did? Oh, wait! Don't crash! Don't crash! How is PCG being affected by this? What that PC of the G? Okay. So what if we do like every other? And it's only 4. Yeah, I like that. And then so we can still keep a lot of the lighting. Because we want the lighting. But then that means we basically have, 4. I'm okay with that. Right? Like, I'm just sitting here chilling and all of a sudden PCG's like, hello, I'm here. Like, thank you, PCG, I know. I'm aware you're here. Thank you for reminding me. Okay, let's go take a look. Yeah, I like that. So that way you have one spot in here. And then on the other side, you'll have 2 there. We'll have the kind of like the lanterns hanging from the top, hanging down. So that way you'll get some centralized lighting as well. And then I think this is where I'm going to have this be like kind of terrace stairs. So as you walk outside, it'll be kind of like an amphitheater where somebody can come and walk. And this is where the weapon will be in like a case or something, and maybe you have to figure out the puzzle to unlock the case. So there's something inside here that you have to do that allows you, maybe you climb the ladder and get the right scroll, bring it down, unlock a pressure point or something, and then that unlocks the case, brings it down, and you're like, yeah, I can get the massive weapon. And then you get the big weapon, and you're like, yeah. Yeah. Yep, I like it. Okay, I'm gonna probably have to rift more on this idea. I need to be cutting it. I have work in like what's my time frame? Yeah, 5 hours. So I am gonna cut the stream so I can go take a shower, get my nap in that I need to do before I go to work. I appreciate you guys being here. Those of you who have followed me over from the other stuff, I appreciate that too. A lot of new people, a lot of new faces. So I appreciate it. Thank you guys for being here, and I'll see you tomorrow or whenever the next time you can make a stream is. If you're on YouTube and you're watching, make sure you follow, subscribe, do all the things that you need to do. If you're on the Twitch, thank you for the follows. Thanks, guys. I will see you tomorrow.